Y'all ready?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. We got some cards. We're getting ready to start, so if everybody take a quick seat, please.
Look, I got most of it off. I went.
Oh, you do
struck
sure.
with hot water. Did you just get some baby? Like, yeah, oil stuff. Yeah. Gentlemen. I don't know when you weren't. I know.
Okay, you guys ready? Fran, are you ready? Okay. All right, it's 5 o'clock. The city council regular meeting Thursday, January 18th, 2024 will call to order. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if you'll remain standing, and Father James Durkitz is going to share a prayer.
Mayor, council members, thank you. Thank you for your service to our city here. Appreciate you. Let us pray. Direct us, O Lord, in all our doings, and with your most gracious favor, and further us with thy continual help, that in all our works begun, continued, and ended in thee, we may glorify your holy name, and finally, by your mercy, obtain everlasting life through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll start with item 3, which is citizen comments and reports. And there are quite a few cards. So if everyone here who does wish to speak, when I call your name, just verify that you're going to get up and speak at this time. Some of you obviously fill out a card just to report your in favor or opposition of an item. But remember that you have 3 minutes, and we welcome you to come and speak. So we're going to start in no particular order, but we'll have first Cliff Strain. Cliff, if you'll come up. And remember, for those of you who aren't our regular visitors or visitors to the citizen comments, you do have to state your name and your address when you come up, okay?
Good evening, Cliff Strain. I'm from the Port Aransas Preservation Historical Association, for those of you that don't know me. First of all, I'd like to thank the council for all the hard work and support we've had with you all over the last year. I feel that for me and for the Preservation Association, it's very important to work closely with the city council and be involved in our city government. I worry that it might get difficult when we lose our winter help if you decide to have meetings earlier, but I'm still going to do my best to be involved, and we thank you for that. I'm also wanted to announce, and I think our new president, JB Smith, is going to tell you a little more about it, but we're going to award, we mentioned a few meetings ago that we're going to start doing preservation awards, and the first one's going to go to Robbie and Teresa Owens that have the telephone switch house on Avenue C. And we really think this is a great start to calling attention and support for preservation in our town, which I really think is kind of helping preserve the heart and soul of our town. And I think it's important for the tourists, and I think it's important for the locals. So that's really about it. I'll let her tell you a little bit more about it. And we are going to award that on the 27th during the Homes tour. We'll probably have a formal ceremony then where we give them the plaque, and it'll be done at their location on Avenue C.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cliff. Okay, so next is JB Smith.
Mayor, council, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm the incoming president for the Port Aransas Preservation and Historic Association. You have been great supporters to us in past. We hope to continue that partnership. As Cliff was sharing, we are rolling out our first preservation award, and we hope will be the beginning of a program. This one is based purely on merit and on the preservation aspects of the property. But we hope as time goes on to have different programs that incorporate more benefits and also incorporate more opportunities for the property owners to make commitments for preservation. It's our goal to try to work with property owners in order to preserve the beauty and the heart of Port Aransas. Thank you so much.
Thank you and congratulations.
Yep.
Okay, the next card that I have is a John Cobb. It doesn't have any notation about your public comments topic, so come on up.
Hey, all y'all.
Hi.
I'm John Cobb, the guy that did the paintings on the inside of the chapel.
Ah,
I just wanted
recognize that
to
name.
stress to y'all the importance of following through on these historical projects that involve keeping the city just like the city we've known it to be in the past. Please have regard for these historical preservation people. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Okay. Next is Aaron Fox. You do not have to speak if you don't want to. You can you certainly noted it on your card, but I'm just giving the opportunity. If you'd like to, you may come up, and if not, you can just be duly noted.
I'd like to.
Come give us your name and address and.
Hi, I just want to oppose the 5E. That's a member that's coming up, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. All right, Liz Davis.
I want to show a picture. I'm opposing, my name's Elizabeth Davis, Liz Davis. I'm a permanent resident here in Port A. And I'm in opposition of 5E, the building of the Judson property. This is the front of the property that they're wanting to build on when it just rains. And this is the front on 11th Street. If you could imagine, if it rains this much in the front by 11th Street, what it rains by the dunes. And they're wanting to cut through the dunes and put in 8-bedroom house, and it has 12 outlets for bathrooms and sinks, water, and they're going to haul in the water. They don't have any city water. So, and then they have a sewer system that if it erupts, it's going to stink. It's going to overflow into Arbors, Sea Isles, and probably Pelican, and then stink. And then everybody, the beach and everybody around it is going to get to smell it like when you're going across Oso Bay. So I just want to oppose it. I think there's many, many things wrong with it. I sent a letter to each council member and to you, Mayor Moore, and I hope you'll take this into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Okay, next is Jeff Lowe.
Hello, Council. My name is Jeff Lowe. I live in San Marcos, Texas, 1255 North LBJ. And I had a map, if it's possible, I could give to you.
Yeah.
Just take one.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Thanks, sir. And I'd like to say no to the dune permit BFDP 21-2057. And the point I was going to bring up that has to do with this attached exhibit is the way that the access road is a 16-foot wide access road that should be at an angle or with a curve to eliminate the straight shot aligned with the prevailing winds or the storm surge. It directly goes now, according to this map, straight into the dune, straight ahead. State regulations state where practical, the city shall require the permits to locate roads on oblique angle to the prevailing wind direction. That's 31 TAC section 15.4 F2 CI. The original drawing submitted shows the access road going southwest, but it's really southeast, direct in line with the prevailing winds and storm surge. And this is it clearly shows the road is going southeast. And it will be a straight shot through the dunes to allow the winds and the storm surge to go right by the duplex and into the properties in the back. The access should be elevated above the critical dunes like all other accesses. Over the dunes in order to leave this critical dune protection intact to protect the properties in the back. Parking for the development could be adjacent to the beach with access via golf carts on the elevated boardwalk. The exhibit E2 shows the dunes are as high as 20 feet in front of the properties. And it's bulldozed, there'll be nothing left to mitigate this loss. And so that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. All right, next is Sally. Please help me with your last name. Plager. Okay, thank you. I just didn't want to mess it up, so. Well, don't want to do that.
My name's Sally Plager. I live at 808 St. Louis Gonzales, Texas. And I'm here to speak against the dune permit BFDP 21-2057. First, this has been going on for several years. I think at first the project was going to be a hotel. And then it was going to be a duplex recently. But now I'm seeing that they want it to be a single family house, but it still has duplex features. And regarding the dune cut, several years ago, I saw the picture that they submitted to the GLO with their application for a dune cut. And several people were with, it was a group, and we studied it. And some of the people were old timers who are no longer with us. But it was kind of agreed that the aerial photo was actually the Seal property and the path was Seal Village Path. And Seal was built like in 1965, I think, around then. And so we could be mistaken, but that's what it looked like to a lot of people. And we may need to investigate that further to get it right. But anyway, they got the dune cut then, and then that they had it like in 2015, and then it wasn't maintained. And so this recent deal, they applied again and they got another permission to do a dune cut. So anyway, the plan doesn't comply with the coastal management plan, in my opinion. I've read it somewhere in there where it called for the roadway to be clear and at all times for emergency vehicles to ingress and egress. And I think in that location, in order to do that and handle the migratory sands, that there would have to be like a large earth moving equipment there on site, because it would be have to be like a weekly or maybe even daily maintenance routine. And also the dune cut will also put other neighbors and people at risk in the event of a flood. That area is extremely sensitive environmentally, and it has unique plants and wildlife, and it's very close to the beach. And another concern is the on-site sewer facility. It's janky at best, and it's a disaster waiting to happen. And it's gonna happen in a vulnerable area. And the environment there,
Is that 3 minutes?
Yeah, sorry, just if you
I'll
could
wrap
wrap it
it
up,
up.
please. Yes, ma'am.
it's near surface water, groundwater, and the ocean. And so I just hope common sense prevails on this project. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. All right, next is Jenna Orsinger.
Good evening, and thank you for letting us speak. I'm Janet Orsinger. I live in San Antonio, Texas, but I co-own a condo at Beachhead Condominiums here with my husband. I'm speaking in opposition to 5E. I thought I might be further along in the evenings because my comments are more poetic than descriptive. But you're going to hear from everybody else, all the problems with this project. So I just want to say a couple of things about the dunes. I have an alternate vision for these dunes other than a 22 capacity house, whether it's duplex or single family. It's a big house out in the middle of the dunes. This is my thought. We do not have a designated wildlife area on the Gulf side of the city like we do on the Bay side with Leona Bell Turnbull Birding Center. And that's next to a wastewater treatment plant, as you recall. It doesn't smell very good. The wastewater treatment plant that the dunes are smells clean and fresh and beautiful. And it does all the job of catching the runoff from 11th Street. The way the property runs is you've got 11th Street here, and it all runs downhill, up downhill, and it congregates. All this water congregates in the dunes, actually right at the foot of Beachhead Condominiums. In the last big rain we had in 2021, our storage unit was underwater a foot. Okay, so my idea for this area is to leave it undeveloped by humans and let it do its job that it's environmentally brilliant at. Because after those huge rains that we had, I don't know if you all remember, we had like 48 inches of rain over the course of 2 or 3 months, and it created lagoons right down there in the wetlands. This is a wetland area, and it's in a FEMA flood zone. Okay. That area turned into frogs and fireflies and cattail reeds and all kinds of things that mitigate all this flood water that congregates right there. It does a beautiful job of cleaning up wastewater from the city, flood water from the city, runoff from the city. To put a septic system of a huge house out there in that area is not a great idea. It's a really, really bad idea. The GLO won't even let the septic system be situated on the Gulf side of the house. Why? Because they don't want the ocean contaminated. We don't want the wetlands contaminated. Please consider letting the wetlands do their job, which is to create beauty and wonder and clean up our messes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Bill Orr.
That was my wife. I love her.
Oh, gosh, that's good. That's good.
She was great. Thank you, Jana. I'm in opposition as well to the dune permit. BFD 212057. David, can I get you?
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Pass this out.
Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Orr. I live at 337 Corona in San Antonio, Texas, and at Beachhead Condominium. I'm also the HOA president for Beachhead. A little over 2 years ago, City Council did not approve the permit for this short-term rental duplex. Now the project is back for consideration with the exact same set of plans, minus 1 stove and 2 kitchenettes, as you'll see. As a residential builder in San Antonio, I've looked at hundreds of house plans over the past 25 years of my career. And this set of plans is beautiful for a duplex, minus 1 stove and 2 kitchenettes. When the stove is put back, not if the stove is put back, when the stove is put back where it is missing presently, which is how they are addressing this as a single family unit. I think you all have read all of our letters and all this, thank you very much for doing that. I know it's a lot. And this was a huge packet of information. I'm chairman of the board of the variances for the city of Alamo Heights in San Antonio. And this was, if I had seen this packet of information, I would have given the applicant a D. When the stove is put back in its original location, this project will be a duplex. Scott Mack, District Manager for Nueces County Water Control and Improvements, District 4, whom you all know, states that district policy forbids a duplex from being on an OSS system for sewage control. The General Land Office, in their comments regarding this project and dune hydrology, state that there must be no erosion of adjacent properties and any activity must not result in the potential for increased flooding and drainage of adjacent properties. As both Sea Isle, Coral Cay, and Beachhead sit at the bottom of the dune bowl, I fear will have increased flooding. There's no way about it. I urge council to deny both of the permits. As you'll see in this Exhibit D, which is the most recent application they've had, dated October 20th, 2023. This house, the duplex, the single family residence that they're claiming, is really a duplex with 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, dining room, kitchen, patio kitchenette, patio dining area, and patio seating. On page 95, 185 of the 258 pages of their submission, pages 216 and 306 in your council package. The agenda item and staff memo say 6 parking spaces, but on page 1 of the application, I'm sure you all have seen. Is my time up?
Not yet.
No.
We'll give you another 15 seconds.
There's no limit to the number of parking spots. And as my wife said, GLO said, put the septic system, this OSFF, seaward. Don't put it seaward. You're not allowed, that's the rule. But we're behind them and it's all downhill and we know where effluent goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orr. Okay, next is Brian Olin.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Brian Olin. I live at 316 Pineview Loop in Bastrop, Texas. Mayor, esteemed members of the city council, thank you all for your service and thank you for allowing us to address you on this topic today. I'm hopeful that my comments move you to find that dune permit BFDP 21-2057 is not consistent with the coastal management plan for the following reasons. As we know, the proposed waste management system for the Judson property is an OSSF system. The system has been referred to as a small water treatment plant, which gives the impression that they are not as problematic as regular septic systems. As an owner of a 4-bedroom home here in Texas that has an OSSF aerobic system, I can tell you that these systems are equally, if not more problematic than their septic leach field counterparts. While this system may work flawlessly when first implemented, please think ahead the next 3, 5, or 10 years. First, the system has moving parts that need to be maintained, and when they fail, oftentimes the only indicator is a small red light. Failure points include air pumps, water pumps, timing devices, all of which failed on my 5-year-old system at one time or another. There are also parts that can get clogged if the system is abused, such as oxygenator stones and the piping that runs from tank to tank underground if foreign materials are flushed. Please refer to the document I provided for a few examples of foreign materials. Some of the items may not surprise you, such as not flushing scouring pads or disposable diapers, but there are plenty other items that you may be surprised are on that list, such as baby wipes, scented toilet tissue, and chlorine bleach. My wife and I, the only two people in our 4-bedroom home using the system, encounter challenges often. We have the system professionally inspected every 4 months. We consistently have to remind ourselves not to let certain items flush or go down sink drains, for example. Chlorine bleach products used by most cleaners to sanitize toilets between guest bookings, excessive amounts of toilet tissue, and I can even imagine a volume of paper products 24 people would use. Also, baby wipes cannot be flushed. And finally, one cannot just use any kind of hand soap, shampoo, dishwasher, or laundry detergent. People bring their own personal products for use on vacation. Are people not going to use their favorite products because there's a sign? They're on vacation. Most people will do what they please. The impacts of failing or improperly sited septic systems present public health and environmental risks from physical and chemical pollutants, including pathogens, excessive nutrient pollution, biochemical oxygen demand, as well as wide range of contaminants from consumer and pharmaceutical and personal care products. Human and environmental health threats posed by septic systems are more prevalent in areas with poorly draining soils, high water tables, high temperatures, and frequent flooding, all of which are characteristics of the Texas coastal bend. Consequently, such areas are problematic for siting and maintaining septic systems. These threats are in direct opposition to the spirit and rule of the Port Aransas Coastal Management Plan, and I urge you to find the intended use of this dune permit is not consistent with the city's coastal management plan. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Okay. Katie Nay. I apologize.
Yeah, it's an A.
Oh, Nay, okay, sorry.
My name is Katie Nay. I'm from Sea Isles. I'm number 3. I am in opposition to the dune cut and the septic, mostly because it doesn't seem like they put a tremendous amount of thought. It seems to me as if they're wanting to try to get things passed and they're going to put the thought in later. Whether the thought is the driveway, whether the thought is the wind, whether it is drainage from the property, where's all that water going to go? Where are they going to put the tanks that's going to hold the fresh water for the house or the condos or whatever they're planning on building there? It seems like a lot of the thought they're planning on putting in later. That needs to be done prior to getting permits, in my opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Michael Beatty.
For allowing me to speak. Pretty much everything I was going to say has been covered. I am an OSF installer for 45 years, and I've seen a lot of different circumstances. I personally don't believe that drip irrigation system for that septic system is going to be the best scenario for that situation, simply because of the type of soil there and the erosion of that type of soil. When you have water going across it, it's going to wash out most of that septic system when we get a storm surge coming through there. One thing that hasn't been really mentioned, I've had to clean up some really nasty messes over the years, soil replacement, replacing treatment plants, the whole deal, because of pharmaceuticals, radiation, people that are taking chemotherapy, they're using that facility and that radiation is going into that soil and it doesn't go away. That treatment plant only cleans up the harmful pathogens and bacterias, but it doesn't do anything to clean up any of the pharmaceuticals and the radiation and things like that. So when this washes out, when we get our next hurricane, that's going to all end up in the wetlands and back there in the adjacent properties. So something to consider. Like other folks have said, I don't think this has really been thought through very well and needs a little more consideration. I'm opposed to that project and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Tammy Berkeley.
Hello, you guys. I'm Tammy Berkeley. I'm just the property manager at Seattle Village, 1129 South 11th Street. You can probably guess which item number I'm here to speak about. It's item 5E with the dune cut. So the dune mitigation plan, and I had passed this out before for you guys. The dune mitigation plan is designed solely to protect this house. You can see the house is going to be built here. The mitigation is all directly in front of the home. If you see the cut and the drive, it goes up past, and any water that's coming through here is going to go directly up to Seattle Village and to Beachhead. Beachhead gets a lot more flooding in the back than Seattle Village does. They have been months underwater, combined with the septic system. If it fails, now you have a sewage pond in the front that we're all going to have to deal with. Also, on this exhibit, of the total mitigation volume, 420 cubic yards in front of the duplex is to protect it. Only 18 cubic yards is behind the house to protect the rest of us, just 18 cubic yards. Exhibit F2 shows 970 cubic yards of mitigation volume required in 5 different areas, but exhibit F3 only shows 420 cubic yards of volume in mitigation. The law requires 1-to-1 mitigation. They are showing 1-to-1 on exhibit F1 for the area of mitigation, but not for the volume. So that does not meet the state requirement, so is not consistent with the coastal management plan. The mitigated and compensated dunes and dune vegetation must be continuous with any surrounding naturally formed dunes and must approximate the natural position, contour, volume, elevation, vegetative cover, and sediment content of any natural form dunes in the restoration area. The mitigation plan does nothing to approximate the protection given by the dunes. Even in the letter that they sent out to all of the owners at Beachhead and Seattle Village, the last line of the letter says, construction of this home will include the reconstruction of a previous access road, as well as mitigation of impact to dunes in front of his residence. So it does nothing for Seattle Village, who's been there since the 60s. The Beachhead does nothing for us. The other thing that I wanted to point out that they have said is that the home was a duplex. It has removed a stove, so it can be a single family home. But in the packet that they gave to you on page 10, they have the one side with the stove removed as a game room. On page 95, they have 2 kitchens as a duplex. They already taken advantage of a loophole about removing the stove. They're kind of creating a loophole for themselves by submitting 2 different floor plans, because when you approve this, now they can use either one because they get approval for both since it's in your packet. I made it in 3 minutes. You guys have a great day. Thank you. Thanks for your hard work.
Okay, Mr. Bell, you're up next.
I'm John Bell, also speaking on 5.3, but if I could let the other folks speak first, against.
You are last on 5E.
Good.
I saved
Work out,
you
I
for
hope.
last.
Because,
Here, you're gonna do a big summation.
And I had about 15 minutes of stuff to talk about it, so I shared.
There you go.
And I have to give a round of applause. If everyone who is opposed to this, if you could please stand, just to be recognized. I handed out sheets of paper to some of them to try and hit some of these issues because I knew I wouldn't be able to do it. And they did an awesome job in explaining it. Thank you very much. This is well, number one, yeah, Bill Orr said he'd give them a B. I would give them a C. They dumped 258 pages of material on you guys, giving the sham that this was a well thought out proposal. In reality, the 42 pages on the sewer system, the OSS system, are duplicated 3 times in that 258 pages. The application, which is another 30 or 40 pages of material, they have that in there 3 times. The most recent version dated October 20th of 2023 is in there twice. And even that goes through the beginning in Exhibit E, then skips Exhibit F and does the pictures of Exhibit E. And then it goes back and picks up Exhibit F and redoes the pictures of Exhibit G. And they've got that in there twice. And so it gives you the feeling that, oh, wow, this is impressive, 250 pages of material, when it's all duplicated stuff, 3 different duplications of the sewer system and 3 different duplications of the application that are out of order. As has been commented, they have 8 different versions of Exhibit D. 2 of them show 2 full kitchens, stove and everything, and 2 outdoor kitchenettes. 6 other copies of Exhibit D have that erased to make you think that, oh, this is just a single family residence, because your planner said, well, if they don't have a cooktop, then it's really a single family residence. But when you look at that exhibit, you see this is 2 completely distinct units. They are, I would be offended if I were you. They're making a mockery of not only this city, but also the water district, because you know they're going to advertise this in short-term rentals as 2 different units that you can rent. They could either put in the stove or they could just put a countertop cooktop on it. And after this is done, it'll be on short-term rentals as 2 different units for 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, or 8 bedrooms, 6 baths, and 2 half baths. In your staff application, it says 6 parking spaces. But you reach page 4 technically of those 3 applications, and they say 8 or more parking spaces. Now, you know what it's going to be to have 8 or more cars in the middle of the dunes going on. The short-term rental people, I'm sorry, they don't know about all the issues that we have to protect. But the mitigation plan, as was pointed out, is legally deficient. They've been told multiple times by the GLO that they have to have at least 1-to-1 mitigation, and that's what your standard says. If you look at their 4 different versions of Exhibit F, in F1, it shows that they're affecting more than twice the volume in the dunes than their mitigation plan in F3 is mitigating. This presentation that they're doing is completely legally insufficient, and it should be rejected on a lot of different grounds. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Unfortunately, we can't have a question and answer
Sure.
session during citizen comments, but I do.
During when the agenda item comes up, we'd be happy to address any specific questions you might have, because we've studied this very carefully.
Okay,
Thank you.
we appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, I do want to note that there was an additional opposition who did not wish to speak, but I will read their names so that they're counted. Jean Curtis is in also opposition of item 5E. Okay. Did you sign a card?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, well, sure. If you'd like to speak now, come on up. Sorry, I just didn't want, you said no, but I didn't want everybody to know that you.
Thank you.
Okay.
My name's Gene Curtis. I live in Bryan, Texas, and also here.
Okay.
My wife and I got married down here when Cinnamon Shore only had about 10 units down there in 2013. We got married on the beach, loved it. So we bought a condo at Beachhead. I just wanted to bring up the dune cut. Obviously, I'm in opposition as well to 5E, the dune cut. My dad, before he retired, was the general superintendent for the road commission up where I grew up in Michigan way back, a long time ago. So he knows what big heavy trucks do to roads. And obviously, you know, going over the dune, obviously can't do no asphalt, concrete, anything with it. It's going to be some sort of, you know, they have to have water trucked into this place. And I think it was 16,000 gallons or something the cisterns hold. I don't have to tell anybody how heavy trucks are and what they do to roads. They destroy them, you know, not on purpose, but they just do because water especially is really heavy. And a 2,000 or 4,000 gallon truck coming in there to refill them with water, if they have 16,000 gallons, I don't know, that's, you know, 4 to 6 to 10 loads, however big the truck is, coming over that dune on a regular basis. I don't know how you're ever going to build up the base of that dune
to survive that truck traffic without having to constantly rebuild it. It's just gonna wreck it. I mean, and that just makes all of the wind and water, damage that could happen much worse and much more dangerous to that beautiful area. Just as an anecdote, the nickname we have for our condo is called Dune Therapy, because sitting there and looking at those dunes is therapy for me anyway. I was the one that came up with it. I appreciate you taking me last minute there. I know I checked the box, but I just
That's
kind of
okay.
thought of one more thing to bring up. So I really appreciate y'all's time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I have some remaining people and their item is item H, so I'll call them up in no particular order. Paul Fain,
Paul Fain, 309 East Avenue E in Port Aransas. First of all, I agree with everyone's statement today that you shouldn't do this building. It happens all the time when people railroad their little plans in, and it's just not right. But I'm here about the meeting time. I'm not sure who it serves. Doesn't serve the people of Port Aransas to move the time to 3 o'clock, I don't think. Most people work for a living. It's hard enough to get here at 5 o'clock. If you make it 3 o'clock, you're pretty much serving the interests of builders, developers, the people that do have the time. It's their job to be, everyone that works for a living. So they just get railroaded. I think if anything, it should be moved to 6 o'clock. If people have time to get home, have some dinner, or prepare their kids for homework, or do whatever they have to do. As opposed to rushing from work to get here on time to do whatever to voice their opinions. So I highly recommend you move the time, but not earlier, but to later. I suggest 6. 3 o'clock is just an abomination of the process. Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, Luke Daly, you're next.
Daily, 619 East Avenue B. I want to appreciate the preservation people coming. I live in a home that's been preserved. I appreciate the people from the condominiums on 11th Street coming. These people are trying to protect their property, their health, and their safety, and the environment. And this is a perfect example of why you should not move the meeting from your meetings from 5 p.m., which is hard enough, as Paul said, to 3 p.m., which is impossible. There's one term that I think you need to remember: of the people, by the people, and for the people. Not for your own interest, for your own convenience, or for your ease. You signed up to do this job. Staying late, listening to the public on things that protect their health, their safety, their property, and our environment is what you have promised to do to us. Moving the meetings to 3 p.m. just wipes out public comment and is really unfair to the public who you said you were coming here to serve. So just remember, of the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Luke. Felicia Foster. Okay, just want to make sure noted, give you time if you want to speak. All right. Kathy Fulton, do you want to speak, Kathy? What did she say?
Right on.
She said she didn't want to speak,
It's
so she had opposition.
January. my
Oh,
first
okay,
one
okay,
of the
okay.
year. Come on.
Got
to do it. Number one, hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. I'm Kathy Fulton, and I wrote this down because I'm not sure if even this is right. 12223 South Station. But if that doesn't work, we can go back to 619 East Avenue B, since I remember that better. Number one, I do want to say Yeah, thank you guys. I'm so pleased to see people showing up on this, on that item E and saying something, because it really does matter that you showed up and you said something and you made your council aware of things they might not be aware of. And that's what matters. So yeah to you, and I hope cool heads prevail here. So anyway, I did want to speak on H. Y'all got my email. I hope everybody did earlier. I think my sentiment came out pretty loud and clear there. I do believe that moving the meeting time is just inappropriate. I would actually like to see it closer to 6, because then people have a chance to at least get home, grab a bite, get here. But 5, but 3, no, that's cutting everybody else out of the game. And come on, you love us. You want us here. I know you do. We matter to you at times, and sometimes we even get a chuckle out of you. So let's keep the meeting where it is. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Okay. And last but not least, Pat Kucklenberg.
Happy New Year, all y'all. And thank you for letting us have this moment to speak. I'm also in opposition of y'all changing the meeting. If it moves to 3, then there are people that are working that would not be able to hear the wonderful statements that were made tonight. And I know it makes a long day for y'all, but please keep it at 5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay. That ends the citizen comments. And I will say that we do appreciate each and every one of you for coming up. I know it's not easy to speak in public, and it does take time away from your busy family and work life, no matter what time of day it is. And we do appreciate you coming up and having your voice heard, because that is part of democracy and that is your right. And that's important to us. So please don't think that, that we don't appreciate it, because we do. So thank you all for being here. And it's only 5:45, so we got through that pretty quick. That was a lot of people. So thank you guys so much. All right, item 4, council consent agenda. We'll start with item A, city council minutes, meeting minutes. Item B is an ordinance, and then item C is a resolution. All these are on the consent agenda. So does the city council have any comments, anything they wish to pull?
Make motion.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Brandon, please call the roll.
Yes.
Mayor Moen,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Item 5, items for consideration. Start with item D, is the presentation and general discussion of the park dedication fee final report from Freeze and Nichols. And I think Eddie's going to be on Zoom, patiently waiting. Hello, Eddie.
Yes, I am. Just to set it up real quick, and then I'm going to turn it right over to Eddie. This is the kind of the final piece of our impact fee studies. We've already talked about roadway use, drainage, and so this is kind of the final coup de grace, the trifecta piece, which is the parks dedication fee that really was born of the parks master plan. So with that, our esteemed consultant and facilitator with Freeze and Nichols, Eddie Haas.
Okay, thank you very much, Rick, and I apologize that I couldn't be there in person.
Nope, you're muted, Eddie.
Uh-oh.
Go right ahead. It's
Can,
us.
can you hear me now?
It's us, not you.
Okay, how about now? You got me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I apologize I couldn't be there in person, fighting off getting sick, and I didn't want to bring it down to you all. So I do have a brief presentation regarding the parks dedication fee. I'm going to share my screen here. And if you could let me know if you got that.
Could you define brief, Eddie?
Understood. Yes. So I'll make it quick because it sounds like you got some important things to discuss tonight. So what is this park dedication fee? Well, the dedication fee started in 2007. Basically, it's a fee that aligns with your parks master plan, the parks and open space plans. There was an original 2005 plan that was used for the parks fee in 2005. It was amended in 2016. And then here we are with the next amendment, and this one coincides with the recently adopted Parks Open Space Plan, and that the Albert Half team prepared, adopted last year. Key elements of the Parks Plan: the community park, the Roberts Point Park, some of the mobility network, the signage program directing residents and visitors to the park amenities. But what this fee is really, it's not only a mechanism for allocating the cost, but it's broken down into a unit cost basis, and that unit cost is then allocated among residential development. So the scenario that we're looking at is really long-term growth, the ultimate build out of the city, if you will, and how the unit cost of allocating that parks cost to on a dwelling unit basis. Okay, let's see if this will work here. Are you seeing the full screen, or is it a partial screen?
Partial.
Okay,
There,
how about
now it's full.
Okay, good. So in terms of a benefits area, obviously, since the open space plan was prepared citywide, we're calling this the entire benefits area. That includes your corporate city limits as it stands today. Pointing out some of the key concept plans that were prepared as part of the parks plan. We use the costing straight from these elements as part of the analysis, but basically two key components served as input into this the calculation of this parks dedication fee, and that's the moving forward comp plan, where we received or obtained the ultimate development potential of the city, the number of dwelling units in the city, and then obviously the parks and open space, where we obtained the cost that served as the impetus for the cost calculation, and then ultimately the report that's part of your packet. This is the future land use plan that was put together as part of moving forward. That was obviously contained as part of the most recent vision of the future. From there, you might recall this table that was prepared. This is forecasting population, but more importantly, where the arrows point, these are the number of dwelling units that are anticipated going forward in terms of full build out of the city, 16,605 dwelling units. That comprises all the different various land uses, the intensities in terms of dwelling units per acre, et cetera. So that was all adopted as part of moving forward. And then the cost calculations. This is a little snippet of one of the cost estimates, the community park, that they did. There was a pretty good effort in identifying the cost, broken down into the various elements. This is only page 1 of 2 pages for community park, and you can see some of those items that were identified. But all in all, the Capital Parks program considers these 3 elements, obviously community park being the biggest of them at $11 million, Roberts Point, a little under $5 million, and the signage program kind of culminating in about $16.8 million of parks facilities long term. So thinking about, but since we're going to break this out into a cost basis, we have 16,605 future dwelling units forecasted for the city. We have an existing 4,758. So that's what totals up the 21,363. And the reason we're doing the total number of units is because it's not fair that future development pay for some of the benefits that are already benefiting existing residents today. So we're kind of netting that out of the calculation, but basically 16.8 divided by 21,000, $787 per dwelling unit is the cost. That portion that's allocated for future growth is a little over 13 million. So in other words, the existing development or your tax base has already consumed about 3.7 million of parks amenities to date. So we're focused in on that, the 13 million, that's what's considered in the cost calculation, but more importantly, on a unit cost basis, 787.66. So as I mentioned earlier, where were we in terms of the collection rate? In 2007, the initial program was $386 a dwelling unit. In 2016, it was amended. That was the 2005 plan, but there were also some additional amenities that were incorporated in there. You might recall the skate park, the dog park, and the splash park. Those were included in there as part of those updated costs, and that bumped it to 557. Now with the brand new cost estimates of these facilities that are identified in the 23 Parks and Open Space Plan, that's the 787.66. So really where you are in terms of consideration is, you're currently collecting at 557 a dwelling unit. Obviously the new number is 787. In the past, you have incrementally increased that collection rate. That's within your purview on how you want to do that. But basically we're identifying what that new number is on a dwelling unit basis. So with that, I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
That was brief, Eddie.
Yeah.
Well, I understand the hints. I guess if there's anything else I'd like to share, it's really a big thank you. You see on the screen 4 critical documents. The moving forward with our past comprehensive plan, I deemed it as a very successful plan. The drainage master plan update, that was the impetus for identifying the drainage improvements as part of the road and drainage impact fee program. That was the 3rd document here. And then obviously this park dedication fee. We have thoroughly enjoyed working with you all. And so on behalf of Friesen Nichols, thank you very much for the opportunity. And we are certainly looking forward to coming back to help you with future planning. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Eddie. We appreciate you guys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie.
Okay, so that was just a presentation and general discussion from the final report. So any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to item E. The very popular item 5E. We'll discuss and take action to confirm the dune permit BFDP 212057 is consistent with the city's coastal management plan. The proposed permit will allow the construction of a single-family residence, 6 parking spaces, and the reconstruction of a previous access drive. The applicant is J.W. Judson Beach Retreat LLC, and the property location is 1224 on the beach.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Let me also just start out by saying I think we have some owners and the engineer that are here too. So I just want to point that out. Again, I would assume they might be given an opportunity, but certainly maybe can fill in some gaps. So let me start again. If you've looked at the package, but obviously you have the AIR give you a little bit of the pertinent history of kind of the development of this going back to 2015. And we had reached a point where it was actually brought to, went to P&Z, was approved, received affirmative, positive comments from GLO, but when it hit council, and again, I believe this was the previous council because it was in 21, there was an issue with the septic system. And although that had not been anything at the dune permitting stage we had addressed, because obviously water sewer is under the authority of the Nueces County Water Control Improvement District. And the previous feeling is that if the dune permit weren't approved, there really was no need for the expense of a completely engineered sanitation plan. It was kind of the cart before the horse, but the council had wanted that, certainly your prerogative to request that. So the permit went back. And it's gone back through a couple different gyrations and different things have happened. And ultimately we felt that enough time had elapsed that we went ahead and required a new permit that went through the same processes, went back to planning and zoning, into GLO for comment. And and following up on the request of the previous council, we did coordinate with the Water Control Improvement District and did make it very clear to the applicants that we needed an approved, signed off on, complete sanitation plan before we were going to bring it back. And so that's where we are now. It's the same permit for all practical purposes, but just we went back through all the processes as we had before. When staff and planning and zoning, and again, as the liaison to planning and zoning, we really can't get into the different emotional considerations of a dune permit. We simply, and staff explains to planning and zoning, we simply ask them to look at the coastal management plan and ensure that the permit, along with the review of our city engineer, which again, sometimes the aspects of the dune permitting process is beyond staff because there's a lot of critical scientific, somewhat scientific data that's needed, which is why we rely on our city engineer as the reviewing process. But when we take it to them, we just again point out that it's not a matter of liking, disliking. It's just, is it consistent with the coastal management plan? And that's what we do, and that's certainly what we bring to you. We also ensure that before it comes to council, once it's cleared P&Z, that permit and all the documents go to General Land Office. And although they've delegated that authority to us, they comment on it. And part of our coastal management plan makes it very clear that they have the right to comment. You ultimately have the decision, but I can tell you is that in my decade plus tenure here, we've never brought something that isn't reconciled with the GLO. If the GLO doesn't like it, like I said, we will, we just will strive to work that through. Like I said, ultimately, an applicant could require us to do that, but we would make it very clear that GLO didn't agree, wasn't consistent, et cetera, et cetera. So with that preface, obviously, the process is it goes to planning zoning. They make a recommendation, then that dune permit and comments go to GLO, and then we come to council for the second prong of that approval. And like I said, it's probably best that I just go ahead and tell you that ourselves, the General Land Office, and our reviewing engineer does find that the dune permit is consistent with our coastal management plan. You also have, as requested, although it wasn't specifically part of our CMP, the complete engineered, I think it's actually referred to as a commercial water system, the OSFF, from the water district. Again, that's an area that's outside of the city authority, water and sewer, but again, it was a request. The applicant was willing, the water district worked, and again, on behalf of the TCEQ, they issued the approval for that, which you have in there with some other details about the system. So I'm going to leave it with that. Planning and zoning approved, and it is staff's recommendation to approve because it is consistent with our coastal management plan. So probably I'll leave it at that with any questions you might have.
I do have a question. It looked like there might be two different.
Yes, I'm sorry,
so-
and I did promise that I would point that out because of all the concerns and we know the comments that you were getting. We included. There are not duplicate copies, and the applicant has not submitted 250 pages. We included all of the previous permits, which made for an extremely lengthy, cumbersome package.
Look confusing too.
But right, so there's the original floor plan that has been talked about, the current one, but that's why you have packages and there's duplicate documents. We wanted to give everything, provide everything that there was, but it did make obviously for some confusion, perhaps. But that's the explanation, that it was not the applicant, it was us trying to be transparent and throwing everything out at you guys. Like I said, and again, since this goes back to 2015, there was a lot of documents involved.
Right. Going through the permit process, you'll notice in the packet, there was a letter from Urban Engineering dated September 23rd, 2021, which is 847 days ago. And I know usually when we go through this process, we have, I call it dueling letters between the engineers, and just curious why we didn't have.
Because this is the exact same permit that was reviewed there, no changes. And the on the first go round, they did find that it was consistent with the coastal management plan. The sanitation system was something that's not part of that was a request by council to provide. So that was the only reason at the time that permit was denied and sent back. At least that was the narrative that was given. Because like I said, other than not having that document, which we'd never had because it wasn't specifically required, the permit was approved. So this is the same permit that was seen and reviewed at that point.
So the water that is currently flooding on this property now, where does that come from?
So
The engineer, is that their water or is it draining from adjacent properties to them?
Well, I don't know what water we're talking about, but if David zooms in kind of on the area, you look, you almost have almost a perfect situation for building in in construction because of the vast expanse of complete permeable surface. So where dune hydrology is involved, and again, we're not the experts, we rely on engineers, but we have enough experience to say that any runoff is absorbed by that vast expanse of the dune system. And so you don't really have any runoff in a storm event, such as a Harvey, where you have a huge inundation. You got to understand the ground gets saturated. And when you look at the lakes that build up, that creates kind of an underground flow. So that water is going to seek its lowest level and flow throughout that entire dune system. So it's not like it runs off like you have on areas where you have less permeable surface, or you have impervious surface, I guess. But you have almost a complete detention pond of sorts by that vast expanse of dune area that's not buildable, that isn't allowed to be built on. So we can't, although there's a lot of arguments that you've seen and heard regarding the flooding that's going to occur and the runoff. That's just not the experience that we've seen, nor what our engineers that are the professionals that we rely on to go to for those technical aspects have found to be true.
How would you say, I'm sorry, Rick, it just triggered looking at those pictures. How would you say that the size of this home to be built is compared to the Dorn House that's property of the Pelican condominiums? That was the previous name. I don't know if they still call it that. Yeah, that was the old Dorn House, family house a long time ago.
I don't know what the square footage of that. This house that's being proposed, it's a large house.
Right.
There's been a lot of talk about the duplex, and in all practicality, technically, by code standards, it's a single family residence. It's got a lot of bedrooms. There was a comment, and also let me be clear that it's not the city's density requirements or the city's ordinances that prevent a duplex. It would be perfectly allowed by our ordinances and rules. It's the water district that will not allow it because of the water system. I had a conversation with Scott saying, what if they snuck a kitchen back in there? Scott would yank their water system approval. People can do things illegally all they want. But with our short-term rental registration, somebody said, I assure you it's going to, maybe not. It can't be. They have to register. Could they try? Sure. But we wouldn't allow two separate registrations. We also have been in the last several years, we require affidavits. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and may be converted to a duck, we're going to have them sign an affidavit that in perpetuity says, yeah, no duck here. You know, so those, and we do that fairly routine when somebody wants to build something that, yeah, you look at it enough and you could say, yeah, they could sneak another little unit in there. We don't want to presume anybody's lying to us, but we're also not naive. And so we will require an affidavit to protect us. And we have other methods. We have, we're enforcing things all the time where people try to sneak something in. But this would be a water district issue, not a city issue, because we would allow a duplex. And Scott Mack told me that he would yank their
So Rick, is it correct that this particular lot under the city zoning would allow for a triplex or 3 individual units of any size, correct?
Yeah, we allow 3 dwelling units per acre. If it's an acre, then city would allow 3 dwelling units per acre. We have found with our experience that it's really kind of tough to get any kind of sanitation system in on 1 acre with 3 dwelling units. Typically 2 has been about the max, but that's, again, it's subject to utilities. We would allow 3 per acre.
So 3 1-bedroom cabins.
3 dwelling units.
Dwelling units couldn't handle a septic system, but 8 bedrooms sleep in 20, where the other ones would only sleep 6.
Again, that's a water district TCEQ issue.
Yeah, their septic size is based on it's based on number of toilets and sinks and showers and
and it's the rental days. My understanding from Scott and the Water District is it's the number of rental days and the use that pushed it to what I call a commercial water system, which again is a TCEQ licensed, regularly monitored. My layman's understanding of this engineered system is it's like a big municipal water district, I mean, a big water system, just on a slightly smaller scale, but again, all of those things are under the authority of the water district and the TCEQ.
So I seems to remember when this first came up, they didn't know where they were getting their utilities, their water, the electricity. Do they have water now from somewhere? Are they bringing water in? What are they?
No, hence the need for the sanitation
Okay.
system and the.
Okay, so that's where at one time somebody said this looks like a duplex and they said, yes, it is. Even though it was listed as a single family home. So they said, yes, it is. And that came back to Scott, where Scott said, you know, the septic, if you're bringing a septic in, then no, you can't do that because it's a duplex.
Correct. The original plans were for a duplex.
Right. That's what
And
changed.
and again, would have passed our approval, but Scott, like I said, the water district would not allow it.
But I don't think I think when they first brought it, it was still called a single family home, but somebody asked them, is this a duplex? And they said, yes. So I don't think it was presented that way the first time. And somebody asked him and the guy honestly said, yes, it is. And so that's where we came to the septic issue and all that.
Right.
But now it's definitely not. a
It's
duplex.
not.
It can't
And
be.
again, it's
Yeah.
a code issue. Once you
Right.
remove that cooking appliance, yeah, well, people can laugh, but all I have are the codes to go by. And without that cooking appliance, then it's a large house. It's a large compound with a single kitchen.
A big house for one.
And our
kitchen.
emergency equipment doesn't have any problem driving down there and getting there to
No
put
more
out a
so-
fire. Big
no-
truck can get up and over the dune.
No more so than it does with all the others. Is it a concern for us? It always has been, but
Because
we
I mean,
have.
we reject other people because we don't have a turning radius to turn trucks around. And I mean, we've done that recently where they couldn't turn a truck and we don't approve it because.
Usually it's the distance,
And a
back in.
distance, yeah.
I mean, you're approving later on tonight, you're approving a brand new beach rescue 4x4 with a large water tank. So it's, I mean, it's pretty,
So with that.
you know, we have
truck,
our,
we'll be able
we
to
have
take
3
care of
brush
this problem.
trucks. Where's,
Okay.
there's our, if you have a fire question, there's
All
that
right.
right there.
And we did, and remember years ago, I wrote an ordinance again, we created an overlay zone because of our concerns that we did limit the density to a maximum of 3 dwelling units per acre, and prohibited any additional subdivision of a property, which you had. So that was a function to try to mitigate and as for concern with the, with that life safety, but.
So on the dune permit, we had nothing to do with septic systems. So all the stuff we've heard about septic, that has nothing to do with the city of Port Aransas.
It's not our authority, but
It's
you
the
asked for the approved system prior to seeing the dune permit, and so that's
Yeah,
what
so-
we went back and did.
So section 5-53 water and sewer service required. So this is what tripped them up on their first attempt. It says no permits. So permits being dune permits, building permits for new construction will be issued unless the applicant presents a signed application for water and sewer service from Nueces County Water Control and Improvement District for septic. So that was the cause of them to go back to the drawing board, prove up their septic prior to the issuance of any kind of permit from the city, whether it was a building permit, a dune permit, beachfront construction permit.
So the dune permit is for a building. It could have been open. That's all we're approving.
It's for the cut.
We don't care that it has 8 bedrooms. We don't care if it had 6 bedrooms,
I
2
mean,
bedrooms. This
No,
is just
no,
a
no.
You can
building
share, but right, it's a
right
dwelling unit.
Yeah, you're looking at
there with the
impacts
dune
to,
permit.
yeah, you're looking at the impacts to the dune
Right.
system, dune.
And their
Flora.
mitigation meets.
Yeah,
all
there,
of the
there was,
requirements.
yeah, what you have there has a mitigation. There's 845 cubic yards of impact. There's 850 of mitigation and compensation. So that's what you have. Now, like I said, possibly confused by a whole lot of other documents that you had in there that we tried to do, just simply we wanted to give you everything. But the current permit shows that that's the amount of compensation.
And when was the road from the beach? When was that road built? Was that 2015? Is that what I read?
That was the initial permit.
Okay.
That
Yeah, it
had
was
that.
built in 16, I believe.
Permit,
Six-
started
okay,
permit in
But the
14,
permit,
built
I
in 15.
think- okay,
50, right,
Okay.
15, built in 16,
okay.
and never, and it, again, shows how fast.
Yeah,
they've
there's
revegetated.
January of 16. And then and it's not
Okay.
there, and then
There.
September or October of
somewhere
16,
in
it
there.
is
Okay.
there.
And that's not a requirement to keep up with or anything. It's their use, correct?
It's their use. They let the permit expire.
Okay.
Which set him back to the drawing board for an entirely new one.
And I have one more question about parking. There will be enough parking for
Right.
each of those
The-
bedrooms
The
or?
parking issue that came up is a building permit issue. We
Okay.
require one parking space per bedroom.
Right.
The requirement here is that it's all pervious
Pervious,
surface.
Right,
So 6 or 8.
okay.
Doesn't have any impact. The footprint of impact is what's
Right.
critical.
That's okay. There's still a lot to think about.
And there's no
Yeah.
other way to get water or sewer
Because
to that.
Uh,
Water
we-
district doesn't want to do it.
Well, they can, access would be through private property, which is a fairly common issue for on the beach properties. Very few find a landward neighbor that wants to give them water and sewer. Or that they convince. There's a few, but for the most part, those on the beach properties, where your only access is from the beach, can't get it. Water district can't force somebody to private property to have it come across private property to access it. They prefer it, and would require sometimes if in the future it were ever available. Again, we've had some of these discussions before, by people that were opposed. And I think a good valid question is, if they didn't want the septic system, could there be some agreement to work out for utilities that they would provide? But that's a private property issue that clearly hasn't been resolved and
That's not
isn't a requirement, and that's not us, so.
Right.
That helps a little bit. It's just a lot to think about.
Any further discussion? And we can come back to Rick, but I'd like to give the applicant an opportunity to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
In case you'll have questions for the applicant, so. All right. I'm assuming you 4 gentlemen in the front are the ones to speak. You look
Front and center.
anxious, like you want to talk, so.
I'm not the applicant, but I am the builder. I've
Okay.
been working with Mr. Bradford. I build a lot of stuff for him. He's not the devil that he's been made out to be, I can assure you. There's nothing nefarious going on here. They've worked diligently, Mr. Love and everybody. This entire team has worked very hard, harder than I would have, to try to be a part of this community here. He is a good neighbor, guys. I promise you this. He's not bringing the doom and gloom or anything. Absolutely open to discussions about an easement. It was discussed early on in the process, trying to get an easement allowance for this property to be able to tie into the sewer and water, so we wouldn't have this issue from the very, very get-go. Still open to that discussion. However, I don't think we're gonna get a lot of stuff there, but happy to talk about it. But again, he's a good neighbor, spent a lot of time and money. Obviously, you've seen this thing. It's run through. Y'all saw the whole conglomeration of 300 pages or whatever it was, the craziness that it was. And he's done his due diligence. He's hired professionals. It's all done according to the law, straight up according to the law in Texas property rights. Everything is there. It's time to get this thing done and move on. I mean, I feel terrible for him because it's just been a money pit for him. And he just wants to come down here. This is going to do, this is a retreat for a church for a big part of the summer. Mr. Bradford is very heavily involved in his church, and that was what started this entire thing. So this is not the devil coming to town, I promise you. He's a good neighbor, and I think y'all should welcome him in.
Mr. Bradford, Mr. Love.
My name is Kevin Love, 22610 US Highway 281. Nobody said their address in a while, San Antonio.
Thank you.
I'm just here to answer any questions. There's a couple things I can think about. You were asking about dwelling units. Would you say an 8-bedroom? Is that bigger than a
No,
dwelling
when
unit?
it came to the septic system with
Yeah.
the rule of I've got 20 people flushing toilets versus 2 little studio
Casinos.
apartments, and there's 3 people in there and everybody's concerned about sewer, and the answer is, well, we count them by dwelling units. Well, I would count a sewer system not by the number of bedrooms, by how many times that thing's either getting flushed, washed, showered before it reaches capacity.
Yeah, so I mean, the dwelling units can be defined, depends on who's defining it. I mean, you guys as the city of Port Aransas could define a dwelling, specifically what a dwelling unit is. What the state defines it as is, the minimum for septic is 1 dwelling unit and 3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
And I read the size.
Yeah,
balance.
so but typically, they'll do it by fixtures. I don't do septic systems. I could, but I just let
Well, we had somebody tell us about septic system.
other folks, but yeah, no, in a septic system, I mean, to address I've heard a lot of folks be concerned about the septic system. That could all be resolved if, possibly Mr. Bradford could purchase an easement through your property. I mean, I think there's other issues here, but I don't think that's really the issue. It could be for some, but I don't see a septic system as being an issue. It's done all over the state. As far as any drainage questions, if you have any drainage questions, let me know.
On your property, where do you think your water's coming from?
Well, so there's no real
Is anybody higher and draining to your lower because you're lower? So if you have to raise up some, are you going to be pushing water to them?
So it'll be pushed outward to rightly adjacent.
Still on your property?
Yeah, I mean, you have the front, you have the back, it's one, call it a big house or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's a 4,500 square foot house. But, I've done in my career, most of my careers, doing HEBs all over the state, Home Depots, all sorts of different things. I've worked at the city of San Antonio for 3 years, been on the planning commission. I was on the board of adjustments for city of San Antonio. I've helped rewrite the code that was done up there back in 2001. And so when you start talking about a house, we don't analyze drainage. We measure runoff in cubic feet per second. And so, to even get a 4,500 square feet, you won't even get a cubic feet per second of stormwater runoff from this house. So it's so negligible and so minute, unless you had, I don't know, a container that your neighbor did not want to get any water in, literally a bucket in the ground, and you were worried about that. But that's not what we're worried about. We're actually worried about flooding. And this is the farthest thing away from flooding. 4,500 square feet. So.
Do you feel in your design or the proposed that the cut in the dunes and then the property that's going to be removed from the dunes and mitigated to put this single family residence in, do you think that is going to cause drainage issues for either the property owners behind or on the side? I mean, that was a lot of their concerns, and I can hear them, being valid concerns, but can you address their concerns?
Yes. So will there be any adverse impact?
Right.
No, there will not be any adverse impact. Will there be, and I do this for a living, and I've written codes as well, but what you're looking at, 1 square foot of concrete creates more runoff than just water soaking in the ground, right? So we have to get to a point in any kind of analysis of what's significant, what's going to actually hurt someone, but or harm property, damage property. cause a problem. And this is not enough water. When you're surrounded by dunes like this, I mean, the water just sits there and then it disperses in the ground. And as far as the dunes go, we had to mitigate dunes, any removal or building upon dunes in excess of 8 feet. We had to mitigate above 8 feet. So that's what we did. That's what a lot of those, the square footage and the volume calcs are for. So, but, and I think the last time from the GLO, because we had to go through this a couple of iterations, once it passed so many months, the wind can change the dunes. And so they're pretty adamant about, hey, let's see a recent survey, in the last few months. So we've had to come down here, I think like 3 times and survey the property. So, but we mitigated dunes above 8 feet, and we give all the different categories, as you can see in the dune permit. So, but the last time we actually built the surface in Civil 3D. And then, so we got a lot more accurate on our quantities. We'd actually overestimated previously. So, but yes, we're mitigating the required amount.
Do you all have any other questions for Mr. Lowe? Okay, Mr. Bradford? You're good? Okay, all right. Do you have a question, Tammy?
2 comments regarding CIL. I can't speak for Beachhead, but
Okay.
as far as us getting them easements, I just wanted to explain, as far as CL Village is concerned, we have 2 issues with giving them an easement because we have discussed it. One is we're a homeowners association. For us to give an easement, we have to have 75% of our owners, yes. I can't get 45% to show up on simple things like a recycling container. The other one is our main sewer line that goes through our property. It's the old pipes from the 60s. And we do a sewer study on ours every few years because we know we're gonna have an issue. And we have a capital reserve to replace that. So part of the conversation was, if we did give them an easement, and we're adding the 20, whatever it is, to it on an already stressed system, it's just not functional for us. I just don't think we'd get the voltage. And so, and I know Beachhead, I believe you guys are 2/3. So it has been discussed to give an easement. Unfortunately.
What if we can make it better for you guys?
Is there any work back there being done on
A new one.
There's no change.
I would say my board would be open to discussions. We've been open to discussions. We've been open to discussions.
Right there.
That's
still open too.
Yeah, and so we have definitely, and I talked to a young gentleman.
Nice kind of sun time.
Yes, and very nice guy. And we have honestly, myself, I've never believed you guys to be a bad person or the devil coming into town. But I also, your phone went off, but he had a picture on here of the flooding, and we just wanted to show an example. The picture she's gonna show, it's not my phone.
I have it. Is it post Harvey?
No,
I-
it's not.
No. When all the rain happened.
Flood. Heavy rain.
Yeah, because if you look
Yeah,
at,
it was in
Yes,
our.
ma'am.
it's probably like that, right?
Their walkway was
Yeah, so
underwater.
that's 2 days after Harvey. That's pretty typical of what, if you have the real heavy May rains.
The picture on
Yeah.
hers is not from her,
Yeah.
it's from 2021, just from.
Yeah, any of the big May events will, they fill all those dune systems back there. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we got it.
We got it.
Yes, ma'am.
We
Now, the good part is that the back half of this lot, just to kind of discuss a little bit of hydrology. So the back half of this acre, which is, I'm trying to draw that. I can't draw it perfect, but kind of that's the acre right there. There is no impacts, no fill in this back detention area back in here. Right, which is great because if they build, so that the house is going back here. And then the mitigation is up here. So the septic's in the back, under the sand. It's down buried. Right.
Not near the water.
Yeah, but I mean,
Right, right.
as far as the flooding is concerned, there, you know, from a hydrology standpoint, they're not impacting their detention in the back. So I mean, that stays intact. So if there's any question of, is there going to be runoff that's going to affect the neighbors to the back? The answer is there's going to be no difference, because the back half is still going to be open to all the hydrology that's currently going on there now. There is there are two nice dunes right in here on each side of this. The elevation as the driveway goes up and over is at 11 feet right in the middle. So I would say that's higher than any city street elevation at any of our, Avenue G, Sandcastle. So the height of the drive that goes up and over is not going to be susceptible to flooding from the beach side, from a frontal. I mean, what you're going to see, I mean, if we get a hurricane and it's a large frontal wash assault, it's going to be like Hurricane Allen. It doesn't just seek the 20 low spots on the beach. It dissolves the entire dune system. The big dunes, the little dunes, everything in between. Like when we had Allen in 80, it took the dunes down to, you could basically drive anywhere in the city right to the beach.
Yep, there was no dunes.
There were no dunes. They were absolutely 100% dissolved, which is what's typical of a frontal assault. It treats the entire frontage the same. It doesn't just seek some little teeny dip and focus all that energy into, into that little cut. It's gonna, that energy is dissipated along the entire dune front, and it's gonna attack the entire dune front, not just a specific small little driveway cut. So as far as frontal flooding, you're not going to see it. As far as making the flooding on the backside, you're not going to see it. The way this water sits back in there, because it's all sand, it's not like it's clay in other parts of Texas where the water moves on the surface. This is all water that it becomes visible after a storm, but the way this water moves is that it drops down into the water table, and it stays high, but the direction that all that water goes, it doesn't get to 11th Street. There's too much development that forms kind of a natural dam. And we see this out on the beach. After these big rains, we'll have 2 weeks of beach mud because all that water is percolating and seeking this low beach area, because the beach driveway is at about 3 feet. This back dune area is high. So all that water is migrating to the beach, and it fills the beach road up. So that's the direction that water's going. It's not going back towards 11th. It's coming to the beach. Downhill.
Okay. Mr. Bell, I'll give you a final three quick comments. Okay. All right.
The issue on this is pretty simple. I mean, your plan and the rules state specifically the mitigated and compensated dunes and dune vegetation must be continuous with any surrounding naturally formed dunes and must approximate the natural position, contour, volume, and elevation, vegetative cover, and setting content of your existing dunes. Nowhere else do you take 20-foot dunes and cut them down in order to create access like this. You just don't do that. It's walkovers across the top. This plan that they're selling you is taking 20-foot dunes in the front. It's not a walkover like you require everywhere else. It's cutting through the dunes Furthermore, it says any roads have to be at an oblique angle. Every effort needs to make it to an oblique angle to the wind. They could put an angle in this front road. They could have the front road end at the house. What they're doing is sticking the road and go straight by the house, opening up a sluice straight into the properties and back. And so that's what we're saying. This doesn't meet your plan. And I realize he said that he was giving you all the prior applications. In the 258 pages, there have been 4 applications. He's given you 1 copy of the 3rd application and 2 copies of the last application, and none of them have numbers that balance when it comes to the volume provided. And the last letter from the GLO, it said you have to change your numbers and it has to balance. I've looked at 6 different versions of Exhibit F3 in your 258 pages, and none of them balance. And so the documents before you simply are legally inadequate for you to grant this permit. And we'd ask at least if you would table this so you can get a complete set of complying documents to review without 2 different Exhibit Ds that show 2 different types of houses being built. Different versions of the same thing. So we'll know exactly what you're approving, because at this point, he says their numbers balance. Everything in the packet before you doesn't balance. And so there's something wrong here.
Did our city engineer say their numbers balance when he signed off on it?
Yes.
Yeah. That was
And
a
as
couple
far
years
as
ago,
the,
and the GLO pointed out that they
as
did
far as
balance.
the roadway being oblique, if you look at the National Weather Service data, for example, months. April has it out of the east. September is east, October's east, November's east. So if you look at, I have that road right there. It's due north is at the top of the page. So for 4 months out of the year, the city winds are due east, which that's oblique, right? So what is the definition of oblique? Is it 1 degree offline? Is it 15 degrees offline? Is it 40?
Not parallel or perpendicular.
Right, anything that is not parallel or perpendicular. So it's kind of tough to just pick 1 month that has a perfect alignment with that road and say, for that 1 month, the winds are going right up that cut, and therefore it is not oblique. But for all the other months, it is oblique. The coastal management plan also says where the very beginning of that sentence says where practicable. Doesn't say shall, it says where practical. That means if it can be done, try to do it. It's not a you shall do this. So there's a lot of that in the coastal management plan. There's shalls and there's where practicable, and they do not mean the same thing. And I would argue that road is at the same angle as every other
road.
I mean, you see a couple of the new dune permits that might have a different angle, but you see every city street is at that same angle. And I would argue that our city streets are oblique to the prevailing wind. So, I think that's a kind of a moot point. As far as us creating a sluice, I would again argue that we are not creating a sluice. The city of Port Aransas has 8 city streets that access the beach. We're getting ready to cut another one through 20-foot dunes. So we're doing the same thing, except on a much bigger scale. And I'm not going to set the precedent that we think that cutting through dunes, leaving a nice high arching drive is creating a sluice, because I think I disagree with it. I think it sets a bad precedence for anything we want to do in the future. We can't sit here and say, hey, we agree with you, we're creating a sluice, and then 9 months later, we go down 4 miles down the beach and we cut a 80-foot swath through the dune. What are we doing? So
There's a difference between public improvements. You have.
No, I don't think there is. I mean,
Yeah.
we have to go through the same document that you go through. So our road that we're building in 9 months is gonna go through the same process with the same verbiage, and we have to check all the boxes. So it isn't different.
This is cutting straight through directly to other people's homes right behind. If it's so safe, why doesn't he put it straight into the middle of his home? Why does it go by his home and all mitigation is in front of his home? And there's absolutely no mitigation to protect the properties immediately.
Well, the best answer,
There's no
the
mitigation.
best answer for that, I would say, is that in the coastal management plan, it states that a applicant should attempt to use a wallered out area of the dunes to place his road. And when he originally placed his road in 2016, we told him to put it there because there was a wallered out section in the dune. So he used the verbiage in the coastal management plan to put that road where it should have been put. And he put it in an area where there was a cut in the dunes.
It's not there anymore. The elevations that they're showing now show 20, 22 feet all around that, and it stops at half that distance. That's a very old picture.
Okay, there's a recent, that is a image there from 2019, and that low area right there is the cut. And that's where he was directed to put it in. And that's where it makes the most sense. It doesn't make it doesn't make any sense to cut.
It could angle over and stop in front of his house.
Yeah,
All your elevation is right in front of his house. If he moved that mitigated dune beside his house and this road just angled over and went into his house, that would eliminate a huge
Yeah.
problem.
When you look at this picture right here, that's where that road needs to go. That's where the GLO is going to tell him to do it.
That's where it goes through the break.
Through the
If it
break.
Angled over and it stopped in front of his house.
Well,
And they put
yeah.
the mitigation to protect the properties in back. Then we're putting the protection where the mitigation to protect everybody else. If he thinks it's so safe. But instead, the mitigation is right in front of his house with absolutely nothing to protect anybody else.
But isn't he supposed to protect the critical dunes?
Mhm.
And there are no critical dunes anymore between
Well, in
our
front of
property
his
in back
house.
and in front.
There's,
That doesn't protect anybody in back.
What are the so you think it's gonna drain backwards towards 11th Street, that his property may flood backwards?
No, it's going to be a sluice going, any storm surge is gonna go straight through right by his house and flood everybody in
Yeah.
back.
I mean, if we have a 15-foot storm surge, we got other problems other than just
I'm
this.
talking about just a
one.
10-foot storm surge. It's gonna
Yeah.
go straight through that sluice into the back. And when you have all these heavy trucks driving on it, you know that the elevation, I mean, if you're bringing in 16,000 gallons of water every week, you know what's gonna happen to the elevation of this gravel road. And,
Which he has to maintain the road if he's gonna use it.
with the elevation, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, look at the drawing and you see the straight shot from the beach all the way to the properties and back with all the mitigation in front of his house protecting it.
The road doesn't go
No,
back to
it's-
Sea Island
yeah,
Beach
it's
Head,
not-
not all the
it's
way.
not- yeah,
It doesn't go all the
I'm
way.
not seeing that.
Lower, I mean, there's nothing more than barely 8 or 9 feet of elevation from the beach all the way back to Sea Islands.
But doesn't it naturally, didn't we discuss that it naturally drains into the retention
But
pond that's
there's
going to be
nothing
there?
in front. No,
But it's going to go into a pond.
it's all flat from there to beach head.
I would
It's not
argue
flat.
that what you see in that picture right there are rolling dunes. That's not just a
That's not flat
flat.
land.
No, look at your flood pictures again and you'll see where that it's all flat and water.
It's like a
If you
pond.
compare your flood pictures to their.
Right,
mitigation
so-
plans,
so-
You'll see that.
Right, so everything that
takes
that
everything back
right,
to
so
the-
everything that doesn't have water is a dune in that picture right there.
Right,
So all this in front right here, that's all dune. This is all dune. This is, everything in here is dune, 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 dune.
and with this plan, he cuts that road another 50 feet through that last remaining part and there's.
But
absolutely no
he's
mitigation.
keeping an 11-foot elevation. He's not just
No.
cutting it down to the ground.
The 11 feet is only at one point near the front, everything else is 8 to 10. If it's-
Yeah, again, you're stating that a storm surge is going to focus all its attention on one little 15-foot 11 foot high and not do anything anywhere else? That's just not how storm surge works.
It's eliminating the dune protection. That's what the whole dune management plan is about.
No,
That-
it's,
that's-
no,
that's
it's
the whole-
not.
That's the reason we're here.
No, I mean, if it was about, you can't build in the dunes, this book wouldn't be this wide. It'd be a
But-
Okay.
but no,
All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna stop. Thank you. We gave lots of time and we heard both sides, so.
Application in front of you that has all the right numbers in it.
I
That's
feel
all
like
I'm
we
saying.
do.
They can
Okay.
table this so we can get an application to see. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. All right, Rick.
Yeah. And again, I think you guys had a copy, but Mr. Bell did make all these points to the GLO, and the GLO responded, and I'll paraphrase. Basically, they said that they did reaffirm that they've delegated the authority to us, although they do comment, and you do have the GLO comments in here. So they were aware of all these issues, and they still commented in a manner that we call an acceptance of that. Obviously, there's always the conditions, but we adhere to those conditions.
And y'all all received that letter,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
just
yes.
making sure that you
Yeah.
did get that part.
And to clarify this, that road doesn't go all the way through. How many feet is that road? Okay.
That's a retention pond on the
Right.
backside. It doesn't go through that
Gotcha.
dune back.
Okay, just to clarify, coming from, I want to hear it from you.
And I can tell you, our beach maintenance beach maintenance activity since '09, the dunes that you see in the picture, they have been built up in such a substantial manner over the last 13 years, 14 years. It is incredible how much more additional material is there now than there was in '09. So, and that's just part of the beach maintenance efforts that we built up. We front stacked, back stacked, to the point we built up, as we make a point to the GLO often, probably one of the most robust dune systems in the on the Texas coast. And we feel pretty confident that it's going to prevent, I mean, it's going to prevent a pretty good amount of impact. Like I said, nothing's going to keep it, but it's not intended to. It's intended to be that frontal barrier to give us time. I mean, we're a barrier island. That's kind of why we exist, is to be a hurricane speed bump, I say occasionally.
Rick, I have a question. If the applicant was to work out an agreement with one of the neighboring properties for their sewer and water, as maybe was indicated here in the audience a few minutes ago, how would that change their application?
My conversation with Scott is that once utilities were made available, Scott would probably require that they go on city utilities. We have some ordinances that we could probably press that if utilities were, but again, those are private property issues that really aren't part of the dune permitting. What you're asked to do today is approve a dune permit with this commercial water system. So, but my conversations with Scott is that he would be more than happy, he'd be thrilled if you could get on the city utilities, on the public utilities.
And before they come in for their construction permits, they still have to do that process after this, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean,
Yeah.
which would include any change from septic to city water and utilities.
Correct.
To make sure that's
And at any
done.
time after that. I mean, like I said, that's a private property issue. And at that point would be between Scott, the water district and the applicant. But I do know in conversations with him that on any of these on the beach properties, when and if utilities are made available, he will ask that they abandon the other.
So this permit is different than most because of the septic. It
Mm.
was asked to be looked into, and so based on the letter we got from Scott Mack, we're under the assumption it is.
Yes.
He signed off.
Right.
The big concern, he signed off.
Like I said, normally that's not something that we've made part of the
It's
dune
not our-
permitting,
It's not.
but it was asked for, and obviously you guys are the boss, so we provided it.
Okay, do y'all have any other questions based on anything in your packet and or comments you've heard tonight? Anything else you want clarified before we make a decision? Okay, thank you, Rick. Again, I want to thank all parties in the audience and those who've sent emails. I didn't respond to each and every one of you for sending emails, and I know some of you might have been in the audience, but we appreciate the emails and putting them to us because we do see them and we do read them and we do make sure that they get circulated. So we appreciate everyone's input. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve Dune permit BFDP 21-2057.
I'll second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Krieger,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owen,
Yes.
Councilmember Layton,
No.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Item 5F is a resolution awarding request for proposal for building inspection and plan review services for residential and commercial projects and authorizing the city manager to act as the executive officer and authorized representative of the city in all matters pertaining to said award.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. As you guys know, our building official inspector, Don Pratt, is still out with some pretty significant medical issues. Keep him in your prayers. But obviously, we've got work that needs to be done. And so Bureau Veritas, who council allowed us to enter into an agreement, actually pre-hurricane, has been our only third-party inspector. And it was really for the reason if our building inspector needed a vacation, was gone, for whatever reason, we had somebody to fill that gap. After the hurricane, they were a big part of it. But again, we felt that it was a good time. First off, it was actually kind of a necessary time to go back out for an RFP, just make sure we saw the best of what was out there. And we had a pretty good response from several different companies. Not all could provide all the services we needed, but two, based on the scoring between myself, Nicole, and Carla Van Zandt in the building department, two rose to the top, and almost with identical scores in our scoring system that was in the RFP. One was Bureau Veritas, which is one of the ones our current agreement with, but Aoka Engineering, which in Texas is headquartered in Fort Worth, but has really developed a pretty good reputation. Part of the process when Don went down was we entered into a short-term agreement with them and did some very diligent reference checking. We called a lot of cities who had a lot of good things to say about them, especially for a small community like us and what we needed and how they were handling that, the relationship they had with the municipality. It was just a very, very positive response from everyone we called. And so with the RFP, we do have the ability to select more than one, and that was in the RFP. And so the recommendation we have is to enter into agreements with David acting as the signer and authorized person with Bureau Veritas and Aoka Engineering, so that we have two services that are available to us. With that said, we will continue when the time is appropriate. If Don isn't able to make it back, which we certainly hope he is, then obviously our desire is to have a person here in the office. I think that was Dave's desire. We agree. We think we need to have a person. So, like I said, it's not going to be in lieu of that. It's just again, for the timing right now, it just makes sense for us to do that.
Well, I appreciate you clarifying that because I think that it's super important that we continue to have representation in-house. Not that either one of these organizations are going to fail to do an outstanding job, but I do think that's important to have inside resources. So
Absolutely.
I'm very sad about Don, and I wish the circumstances were different, but I want to make sure that the city, continues to look for somebody, to take the place of that. So. All right. Any comments, questions? Do I hear a motion?
Oh, and I'm sorry. We also have, I don't know if anybody from Bureau Veritas is here, but we do have somebody from Aoka. I just want to introduce.
Come on.
It's Megan, please.
Oh, sorry. Didn't know you were out there.
Respectful mayor, respectful council. I appreciate the time and the consideration. I mean,
Rick pretty much summed it up here for us. You know, we're at your disposal, right? For exact situations like this. I got a chance to meet with Don prior to us working with the city, and amazing, nothing but great things to say about him, and his process, what he's built here. But you know, we're here to be at your disposal. We're an extension of you essentially. And you know, anything you guys need, that's what we're here for.
Okay,
Thank
super.
you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for being here.
So we need to award contract to each, the AOCA and the Bureau.
Can they just make a motion to approve both, Rick?
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
And direct the city to enter into contract?
I'll make a motion to approve the services of Buera Vertus, ACOA, for contract services as deemed necessary for the city of Port Aransas.
I'll second.
Okay, great. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Fran, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Councilor Whitten?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owen?
Yes.
Mayor Moore?
Yes.
Job.
Would the council entertain a short 5-minute break, maybe 3-minute break?
Yeah.
3 minute?
3 minute? Okay, 3 minutes. All right, quick
Me too.
3-minute break, you guys. absolutely.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you guys for the quick break and
Yeah,
staying with us.
thank you.
We'll resume with item G, which is a presentation from Broadus and Associates on Hurricane Harvey recovery. And I'm assuming that's you, Rob. I mean, I'm looking out there and I don't see anybody else from your group, so.
Terry was coming, but it was gonna be
Well,
17 degrees for a couple days.
Thank you.
Oh.
So he was scared leaving his house, so they sent the A-team, so I'm here.
There you go.
As y'all don't know, I'm Rob White with Broadus and Associates and Del Sol Consulting. My voice is a little bit hoarse. I know sometimes I can talk kind of quickly, so if you have any questions, just stop me at any time. I'll be doing the status update for the projects, and we're gonna start with the public safety building, which, as you know, is right across the street, is starting to take form. They got structural steel delivered right after the holidays, and they started putting that up, and they kind of ran out of pieces. And they're getting more delivered last Monday. It didn't come, but it's promised to be here tomorrow. So they're gonna start continuing that, starting tomorrow, and they're about a third done with structural steel. Another 5 or 6 weeks max, and all the structural steel will be up. Before it's all up, they're gonna start with the brick. Bricks being delivered next week, and they're drilling holes everywhere, and the brick's gonna start going up in a couple of weeks as the steel is going up. So it's really gonna start taking shape and changing kind of the skyline over there. Nice, beautiful building. They've been working on the sewer line. You probably see right here by Avenue A, and they're trying to get that done before the rains come next week. Is Chief gone? They're going to start grading the road next week or two also. The road from 6th Avenue and the road that's on the north side, getting back to the parking lot. So there might be a kind of a mess. And they plan that big concrete pour the middle of next month. So that's probably the third and final big concrete pour where you see concrete trucks everywhere. First time it was like 85 or 90 trucks. But I don't know how many trucks it'd be this time. That should be the third and final pour. Okay, the fire station, a lot of stuff going on with the fire station. We had the bids came in today. We had five companies turn in bids. Y'all be dealing with that very soon. It's gonna be a fantastic, such an upgrade from before, 19,720 square feet.
Fire EMS. don't
Fire
forget
and EMS, yeah.
Look out over there. Daniel's
This is-
giving you the stink eye.
Upgrade for the total.
Don't forget
Living
them.
quarters. I don't know if they ever had the poles on them. Have to go party, but anyway.
Adam, you doing the poll? No poll?
No, but the bids were good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the fire station, that's trucking along. Hopefully we'll get a company picked here soon. Charlie's Pasture Bulkhead. Those guys are working weekends and they're moving, Shirley and Son, and their subs are trucking along. That whole bulkhead that they're doing is about 4,400 feet. I know y'all's packet says they're working on the third section, but they just moved it to the fourth section.
Good.
So that'll be 2,000 feet when they get that part done. So we're talking 35 or 40% done. Not including that 4,400 feet is not doesn't include the very end where the concrete road is, but that's prepped for the 4-foot wall already. So they're moving on that.
And then they're doing the rock out in front as they
Yes.
finish those sections.
Certain sections have a lot of rock out in front to stabilize the wall and the underwashing that the ships are causing or whatever. So definite upgrades, and they finished the end by the houses too. So the houses will be protected with rock. It's kind of hard to explain, with rock by the houses and rock by the seawall. So when the water comes in, it kind of like falls in on itself and comes out. So urban engineering kind of designed that, so that part's done too. Where am I? Nature Preserve and Boardwalk. FEMA finally got the EHP information they needed. They gave it to urban engineering, and their environmental people, Perennial, they're digesting that information right now. They're going to have some questions to deal with the Corps of Engineers. So hopefully that can get squared away before April, because that's when the whooping crane season is done, and we can finally get done on that. But anytime, if they have to deal with the Corps of Engineers, as y'all know, that can take a long time. So hopefully that can get done. The gas distribution system is going really well. They're in the busy parts of town. As you see, they were right in front of the IGA yesterday, like the heart of the city, it seems like.
Right in front of the bank.
Yeah, right by the bank.
No,
My whole
yeah.
parking lot all the way.
Mayor is
in front
personally
of both
keeping
of
an
y'all.
eye on the project, make sure it's going. So that's going well. Haven't had any big, oops with them lately. Big thing is we're waiting on meters. As I mentioned a couple months ago, they started coming in and they're coming in by the pallets now. So there's 3 sizes and we have plenty of meters now and there's still more coming in. Okay, the Harbor Master, we're in I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's moved, completion, substantial completion is moved to like probably the first, this says mid-March, beginning or middle of March. They had all the trades out there knocking it out. They were the only company working on, was it Tuesday or Monday? They had people out there in the freezing, trying to get the trays going. That project is going good. The big fans are up. There's 7 fans. They're fantastic. They're 12 feet big. I can't wait to stand under one of them in July. And the stucco work, I don't know who their stucco company is, but the stucco is really good.
Good. They are good.
The stucco looks great. You have to be careful with stucco because, if you get moisture behind it, it could be a problem. I'm from South Louisiana. There's all kind of stucco problems. Those guys did good. The steel, the top hats, they got that in finally. There's like a decorative, what called top hats. They're going on top of the pavilions. That's in. That's going to go on pretty soon. So it's just a matter of weeks before this project is pretty much done. Also is done out there is the bulkhead caps have all been upgraded. They were too thin and they had steel rebar in them. And some of them were having issues and different companies did different sections. Mako did some and Barcom has the last part right in front off to the side. They have the last part about 60 feet is going to get poured next week. And that's a definite upgrade. You kind of can't see it, but it's thicker and it's stronger and it has fiberglass rebar in it, not metal. And that's designed to last 100 years. And it's not going to rust like that in these environments. You're supposed to use that. So that was used. So it's a definite upgrade and it's much stronger and your great grandkids will be jumping on that bulkhead. Hopefully it doesn't get hit with something. Public Works Garage, that's still in conceptual design. That's kind of based on the fire station arbitration. Which not the fire station. It's kind of based, on the fire station. When that is done, they'll finish the design on that. So not a whole lot to report on Public Works Garage. And to finish it up, 29 projects with 19 ongoing and payments approved to date is almost $68 million. So pending any questions, that concludes my update.
All great stuff. Anybody have any questions for Rob?
Have good weather.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's gonna rain like 4 days next week. So
They won't be.
hopefully, that's not slowing down too much. The Harbor Matcher, most of it's undercover.
Right.
So
That's
but the other projects will be affected.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much, Rob. All right, item H, discuss and take possible action on a resolution setting the time for the regular city council meetings to be held at 3 p.m.
That was me, I guess.
Good job, Chuck.
No, well, because I know our meetings, let's see, November's meeting, December, and then January 10th, we were all at 3 o'clock. And so natural figured this one was going to be 3 and it's 5. But quite honestly with you guys, I get up at 5 a.m. I don't have a particular, but I do know that, having these 3 o'clock starts, meetings are posted ahead of time. People wanting to attend the public. Yeah, we serve the public. I'm here, I'm appointed by public, serve the public, and I'll do it about any time. But with that said, the way at least me, if there's a meeting and if it's important to me enough to attend, I'll make every means to attend and I'll be there. So with that said,
10 p.m.
Huh?
What did you say?
I said, if it was a meeting that I need to attend.
Oh,
that
attend.
meeting-
I thought you said
I'm going to
at
make sure
10.
that I get there. I mean, my profession, we do meetings all the time, but way more so than most, but I get this part. And I heard the citizens tonight in regards to the 5 o'clock time frame. I'm good with that. I do know that there were some comments made of the 3 o'clock. We've had 1, 2, 3 meetings so far in the participation. We've had people present. We had people come and speak. I didn't have anybody reach out telling me otherwise. But again, with the 5 o'clock start time of 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, I'm good with either one. Whatever time we approve to set the time for a meeting, I
You'll
will
be
be
here.
there.
Well,
I assure you.
I don't have a problem like we did, if something comes up like, in the holidays, changing the meetings and times, I don't think anybody's against that or anything, but I think putting them all at 3 o'clock, it's hard for a lot of working people to get here, so.
Anybody?
Thoughts, Mark?
I like 3 o'clock,
Nice to get
but
out of here
I'm gonna
early,
be
yeah.
here anytime,
Right,
but
right.
I
We
like the
will.
3
We all
o'clock.
will. And we all work. We all have jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this entire city council are all groups of working people. And so we all work various times, whether it's 8 to 5, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., whatever it is. And so we're all sacrificing our time, no matter what the time of the meeting is, to be here, for however long it is, because we all have that commitment to be here. I feel like when council, and not just Chuck, talked about making this an agenda item, it was more so not to disenfranchise any citizen trying to attend. So please understand that that is not the case. We are not trying to limit the people who can come and speak publicly. We would never do that. Absolutely. And I know that I can say that not only for myself, for every person in this room that comes to these meetings every time. The intent was more so to help serve our staff and the people who have to be here late hours, who have started their day sometimes at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. We are not a community that meets weekly. Okay. There are a lot of communities that can meet weekly, they meet bi-weekly, and they can have maybe a later time because they don't have the amount of agenda items that we have to get through. And so for me personally, moving the time up was to get through our agenda items, because we have a lot and we will continue to have a lot. You look at our projects, right? And still provide a reasonable hour for our staff and the 7 of us, and the people who do come and attend and who want to stay the entire meeting, to leave here at a reasonable hour and to be able to go home and enjoy the rest of their evening with their families. I do think Port Aransas working times vary, right? Not everybody works from 8 to 5. Some people have to go to work at 7 o'clock at night because they work a night shift. So I'm not opposed to changing it, but I'm also not opposed to leaving it the same. But I do want people to understand that I think the thought process was to better accommodate those of us who are here for an extended period of time, because we meet once a month. We don't meet every week and we don't meet bi-weekly. A lot of city councils meet at 9 o'clock in the morning because they have big agendas and they need to get through them all. So it's really up to you guys. If y'all want to make a motion, 3 o'clock, see where the vote falls, I think that's fine. If you want to keep it at 5, I think it's fine. If you want to split the difference and say 4 o'clock, but I do think that the request was made by some staff members, and I think mainly we were trying to accommodate some of them in
We
their
have
time.
staff members a lot that don't even live on the island, so they have to leave here and drive sometimes 45 minutes.
And we have guests that come and speak, like those who came from out of town. Maybe they were choosing to drive back to San Antonio this evening and not spend the night. And so an earlier start time might have enabled them to do that. There's pros and cons either direction, right? And I think that we're not going to make a bad decision, whatever we make. But I do think that giving it a consideration was the right thing to do.
I like 7 o'clock.
You're in the minority.
I like
Let
the
the
idea
staff
of-
go first
of
and let them go
working
home, but he said no.
No, they're not gonna go home.
Working,
He's not-
go get something to eat, get fresh, allow the people who live on the
Mhm.
island, who work someplace else, to be able to drive home and be part of the process.
Right.
So I'm okay with that, so that they can be included in it. With the idea that if it was important enough, they could take off and come at 3 o'clock or 4 or 5. So I like a later start, 6 or 7.
Not everyone has a choice at their jobs to leave early.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of people in Port A that go to work at 4 p.m.
I know, and we eliminate them too.
So they don't have
Just
to
giving
say
our
either. So
opinions.
there's,
I didn't say 8,
Yeah,
yet.
there's
I
a
told you
lot
8,
of-
because that's when I
Right.
start
Yeah.
my meetings.
what?
No, you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
there's, you're not going to make everybody, you're not,
Everyone here is
Right.
not 8 to 5.
yeah.
Well, I
Right.
normally get off at 7 PM, so
5 to
it's,
11.
it doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna be here, but you make choices, but.
And there's and you're right, Councilmember Kruger, we have made accommodations when we know that there's, better times to make appropriate,
Right.
changes, but I think trying to be consistent, is important for the citizens too. So they know that the meetings are typically every Thursday at, X amount of time. So, so yeah, I mean, I don't know what each individual's thought is, but,
I make a motion that we start city council meeting at 7 o'clock.
And it dies for lack of saying.
is there a second? I'm calling for a second,
Thank you.
council member.
We citizens should be told about this or something. This really should be about the public first. No, I'm sorry. That's the,
Okay.
citizens should be made aware.
We're in the middle of a motion, so any further discussion from council? And I don't hear a second. Okay, so the motion fails. All right. Any
I
other
make a
motions?
motion for 6 o'clock start.
Oh, I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for 6 PM start. Any further discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
No.
Councilmember Chambers,
No.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens,
No.
Councilmember Whitten,
No.
Mayor Moore.
No.
So ugly, Kelly.
Well, some of us get up like at 4 a.m.
Okay.
Get up early.
All right,
Going to bed at.
that motion failed. Is there another motion?
I'll make a
I want-
motion to start the meetings at 4 p.m.
Oh, compromise.
Okay. Is there a second for a 4 PM start?
I'll second.
There's a second. Any further discussion? Mark, I felt like you were going to say something. Would you have to have a discussion on that before we call for?
I was gonna make a motion for 3, but let's go ahead.
Well, you
Okay.
can amend the motion.
No, we're going to take a vote.
I'll vote.
Let's
and if it
vote.
fails, then
All right. Hearing no further discussion, Fran, please call the roll on the motion for a 4 PM start.
No.
Councilmember Crawford,
yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens,
No.
Take all night.
Councilmember Whitten,
No.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion failed.
Okay, that motion failed.
Well, I'll make a motion to have it at 5 o'clock.
Well, it's already at 5. Do we have to
Well,
make?
Well, yeah.
Nope.
Oh,
Don't have
okay.
to make a
Well, I'll have
motion
to
for
make a
that.
motion at
I'll
5.
go ahead and make a motion to make it at 3 o'clock.
Oh,
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
No.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
no.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens,
No.
Councilmember Whitten,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Oh.
Before you vote, I just want to say, I'm sorry it's such a joke to everybody in that council that's been laughing about this for this whole agenda item. I sent you that email for a reason. It's very rude to all of us, the residents.
I agree with that. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
No.
Motion failed.
Just keep it at 5. All right.
Good job. Good job.
Oh,
Never heard of troublemaker.
I know. I told that.
I think that was good, healthy discussion.
It was.
And if you can laugh through it, it's.
All right. Item I, resolution adopting the 2024 fee schedule, approving amendments to the administrative fees, removing fees for alcoholic beverage permits, amending parks and recreation, Marlin Academy monthly fees, amending building and development fees, and providing for severance and setting effective date.
This is Nicole, Fran, who's doing this? This is Dean, Jack Dean. Darla, you doing some?
Yeah. I'll go first since mine are on the top for administrative. So, return checks, we only charge $20 for that. I think we're getting charged more than that from the bank, so I wanted to increase that up to $30 for return check fees. And credit card convenience fees, so when people pay by credit cards or e-check online for different things, they are getting an extra fee because that is built in with our software. But when they come in person to City Hall and pay a utility bill or a golf cart, et cetera, we are not charging a credit card convenience fees. That has become very, very common now, standard industry practice to charge that. If you notice when you go to restaurants now, you're getting that fee probably for your golf cart rentals. I don't know if you do, you don't, but a lot do. And you can't make money on it.
Right.
But
recover.
governments can't make money on it. But we're proposing a 3% fee because if you look at the average, that's about what our average is. Different cards charge different prices. If it's run as debit, it's different than credit. But a 3% credit card convenience fee for that. We're asking that to be added. And then the alcohol beverage, I can go with that. You can't charge that anymore by the legislative session. And then I think that's all that is mine.
Okay.
All right, I think we probably had the most changes. I'm just gonna go through these kind of individually. Our irrigation contractor, mechanical contractor, laws have been passed that we can't charge for those, so we actually haven't been. This is just a change that reflects what we've been doing. Our permit administration fee, cost of everything is kind of going up. The cost of running everything with our software programs and everything did that $10 extra will help go towards those costs. We have added, we increased our commercial plan review charge. Our residential was increased a few years ago. Commercial kind of has stayed the same at $50 because we are sending that out for third-party review sometimes. And spending extra time when commercial projects do come in. We thought that increase was good. Our sign permit had been at $25 for my entire tenure here. Our minimum permit fee is $75. We've just increased everything to kind of meet that minimum permit fee cost. Other big changes, we're kind of just evening things out, kind of making everything one solid price so that we don't have to look anything up, whether it's $330 or $345. Everything is just going to be that $350 flat rate, which makes it easier on staff back there being able to answer questions. The biggest changes are coming from our electrical permit fees and our plumbing permit fees. Now, this is not new construction residential, that is calculated by square footage. Commercial new construction, that's all calculated by square footage. This is the individual remodel permits, addition permits that come in. Those, since I've begun working here, have been calculated by fixture count. So the applicant has to go in and count every electrical outlet that they're adding, every light that they're adding. And then when they come in to apply from us, we have to verify that that's correct. So that just takes a lot of time when in essence, when you add all those things up, it doesn't even equal our minimum permit fee. So it's automatically a minimum permit fee anyway. So we've just changed those fees to be wiped out to make the minimum permit fee kind of the standard for every addition or every remodel that comes in, with an additional fee if they need additional inspections, which is pretty rare. Other than that, the only other big fee addition you will see on here is the park dedication fee that Eddie talked about earlier, that $787.66. Any questions?
Very good. Anybody have any questions?
I got it, the last tag.
Okay.
Last tag.
Marlin Academy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I did see that in there.
Yeah, there's a Marlin Academy adding up a late pickup fee to Marlin Academy. Where is it? Then I see the order.
Yeah.
Yes, a $5 applied to all payments after due date for late payment fee. Because they don't charge any late payment fee now, but late charge every 15 minutes after 6:10. So they'll give them a grace period till 6:10. And then for every 15 minutes, they would charge a $10 fee. I know that that's nicer than what Trinity does. I think they're by the minute.
To get people, are we having a problem keeping people late?
I cannot answer anything for Parks and Rec. I just know they put it in.
I think there is, as you having parents of an employee from Parks and Rec, you generally come home late. Show up late.
Oh, no.
which means we have to pay more.
So 20 years
Well, yeah,
ago,
'cause you're
at
paying that-
daycare, if you're a minute past, it's 5 minutes. It's $5.
$5.
Trinity is $5.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Trinity's
it hasn't
$5 a minute.
changed.
We do
Yeah.
nothing.
Right.
So
We
we
need to
just
charge-
For the first
proposed
10
this
Yeah, I agree.
after 6:10 to start charging.
Because people,
I can't argue
if they're gonna
for
be
it.
1 minute late, they're gonna be 10 minutes late, because it's just $5 or whatever the price is. It has to be something, otherwise you're gonna get people sticking, and people, you know. You don't want people to be critically late 15 minutes and pay $5, because for some people it's every day, just pay an extra $5. Here's my 150 and I'll be here 15 minutes late. You're trying to affect the behavior. Not make money, just affect the behavior.
Every young one.
Thank you, Darla.
Talking to the wrong person.
I don't disagree with what your point is, Dale. So if there is, I mean, because this is presented as a package, but if
Yeah.
there's something that we want to amend, but for a particular fee basis, we can do that in our motion. So if you want to approve a motion that changes
I'd
that,
like to discuss it if I'm just,
no, I don't disagree with what you're
Yeah.
saying. I mean, you're right. I mean, we don't charge anything. This is a step forward to charge something. However, if you feel and the rest of council feels that we need something with a little more,
the
teeth
idea
in it,
is
yeah,
they're here so that everybody can go
sure.
home and we don't have abuses of the system. So for everybody that doesn't abuse the system, it doesn't affect them at all. And
So,
everybody will
yeah.
be conscious.
Well, I was one of those moms that got off at 6 o'clock and I was like, to get out the door and pick up, it was always after 6 o'clock. So
So it says late charge for every 15 minutes after 6:10
after
PM.
6:10,
New-
yeah.
It's $10.
I was one of those moms that
You
had
said
my son at Marlin Academy.
$10, not $5.
Sometimes it's
It's
6:10.
It says 10.
For late fee for them paying.
Paying
Oh, right. For paying
$5
their
for
bill
late
late.
payment.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah.
$10
$10 for.
$10
After
late
15
pickup
minutes,
fee.
yeah.
late $10 for every 15 minutes after 6:10.
I'm not saying it was every day with me, but
The problem with,
yeah.
depends
I mean,
what you're
yeah.
trying to accomplish.
Well, what she was saying is you have to pay that employee, so you've got to recoup that. Yeah, multiple employees.
How about 25? If we're gonna give them 15 minutes to be late, make it a $25 fee.
At 15, so you don't have to count
It's
minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah, because otherwise you're counting minutes.
6:10,
Right.
yeah, so.
After
6:10
6:10.
After 6:10, yeah.
$25 fee.
25.
Is that a recommendation?
You hopefully never have to do it. You want everybody there to try to get their kids when they get their kids, and if they're late for various reasons. And then you let the city manager, decide, judge, like in some of those other ones.
Oh,
The
well, I'm
judge.
sure he doesn't want to be the judge.
He doesn't have that.
Go to
ability.
Duncan.
Yeah.
Okay, is that your motion, Dale?
Yes, my motion is to change the late fee from $5
$10.
and for
It's
$10
$10.
for 10 minutes late to $25 for 10 minutes late.
For 15 minutes late after the grace period of 6:10.
We give a grace period.
Yes. There's a 10-minute grace period.
Late
After the
charge
grace period is a $10 fee for every 15 minutes you're late.
Late charge for every 15 minutes after 6:10.
Yep.
Right, so at 6:10, then the next 15 minutes is a $10 cost, and then
The
next 15 minutes is another $10 cost.
And when are you supposed to pick up your kids? 6 o'clock?
6.
And then otherwise, Ken takes them home.
Get things- Or Aubrey.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm hungry. But anyway, I don't know.
I mean, I think it's reasonable.
6.
You have to have a grace period.
No, they need a grace.
You have to.
I mean, we,
That's just-
staff,
you have
staff
to.
suggestion was what,
We have to
10-minute
do
grace
it.
period, $10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I was
it's
a
fine.
single mom. I
It'll
had to
work.
get
There's a
my
lot
kid
of
out
single
there. Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it'll
And
it'll
I-
work.
Maybe
It's,
we need
it'll
to,
work.
Yeah.
$10.
You know, a lot of these are, because I was one,
Yeah.
a single
Single
mom.
moms.
I wouldn't have been able to afford that. That would have, because it's a very reasonable, what is it for Marlin Academy now? What's the weekly rate?
Is it still 125?
$90 a month.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, it's very reasonable. So we're talking.
Yeah.
If somebody's, you know. and if
So a
you're 15
$10
minutes
fine
late,
is
that's-
that's like,
Yeah,
That's
I'm just
dinner
saying,
tonight.
I'm coming from a single mom
Yeah,
point of view.
yeah.
And I can tell you, I would have had to go pick up Chase from school and he'd have been sitting with me at work because I couldn't afford that.
These schedules dynamic, so
Yes,
whatever you
yes.
do, it's always.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get it. You have those people who are habitual late, they're probably late taking their kids to school, but you know, I'm just saying, I'm coming from a different angle, so trying to see all angles.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very reasonable after school care, but when you got these single working mamas, it's, you know, can be tough. I was one, so I can relate.
Me too.
Yeah, so you work too.
Me too.
I remember picking your kid up. No, I'm just kidding. I did. Yeah, so
Okay, do we have a motion?
Withdrawal.
Okay, is there any other discussion or motions regarding the fee schedule changes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the proposed fee schedule changes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
the-
second.
Okay, all right. Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger.
Yes.
Mayor Tim Owens,
yes.
Councilmember Whitten,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Darla. Yeah. They're on Adam.
All right, item J, award a purchase for one Ford F-550 chassis Bouts 4 rescue truck with 1,500 GPM hail pump, 300-gallon water tank, and a 15-gallon foam system through the HGAC contract for the Port Aransas Volunteer Fire Department from Metro Fire Apparatus Specialists, Inc. in the amount of $427,472. Funding from fiscal year end 2023-2024 budget account number 050600300, authorizing city manager to sign all documents associated with said purchase.
I can't speak to specs on the fire truck, but this is a budgeted item, is in the budget for 675,000. If you notice, this bid is only at 472, and it is not.
427,
427,
470.
472. I did a typo
Okay.
in my background information line when I typed that last Friday.
So it's 427,
472, which it is right up in the subject, and
Oh,
it is
okay.
right in the
Yeah.
resolution. I did it
Okay.
wrong one other place.
So
was
what I
reading.
read aloud was the incorrect number. Yes, okay.
No, what you
No,
read out
you
loud
read
is
the
the
right
correct
number.
number.
You read the correct.
It's wrong in the
Just the
background information.
was-
And where I typed it in the
Okay.
resolution. So when you approve it, we'll.
But the
take-
actual resolution
Says four
that
seventy-two.
I'm gonna sign later, if
472.
it's approved, is wrong.
We
Okay,
will change that. I did it.
Yeah,
I
that's
did a
wrong.
transposition.
okay, sorry, that's what
'Cause I
I
wrote that.
That's what you were, okay, sorry.
I transposed it there.
It's
It's
okay.
427, 472,
Got that,
which is
Fran?
under budget. And it was not a sealed bid because this is under HGAC purchasing through the purchasing cooperative. So it did not require sealed bid
Do we purchase these or lease?
purchase. Yeah, Enterprise will not do big yellow case equipment, fire equipment, or EMS equipment.
Well, sounds like a great deal.
Mhm.
It's much better than what was budgeted. Very good.
Adam, you got some room to buy something else?
He's like, oh, yeah.
No, you don't. Your building's gonna be so expensive,
I-
you're gonna be broke.
I can say that
Powerful now.
this probably will not be paid out of this year's budget. You're committing the funds, but it is gonna take quite a while to build.
Oh, okay.
It will not be
Alright.
built before September 30th.
Could you have used this today, Adam? Because I noticed every fire piece of equipment come out of that barn today.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, glad y'all.
I want this truck here is for a rescue truck.
Uh-huh.
If we get a break on 361, I have trouble get drivers by the bumpers.
Mm-hmm,
This bridge will have a 300-gallon tank.
mm-hmm.
At least we have a water. If a car catches on fire, we can operate it on the truck there. Before we never have water there, it take at least 15 minutes for a pump to get there.
Mm-hmm.
At least our rescue truck have water there. If the car does catch on fire, when the operator gets people out of the car, at least we put the car out of fire quicker.
That's good.
And do beach stuff.
And
Yeah.
people on the beach and everything else. It's gonna be a four-wheel drive vehicle. We had a mini pumper many years ago. That's it. 30, 40 years ago, we had one. With the lime green.
You were a young fireman back then.
Yes,
What, teenager back then?
yes.
All right.
Okay.
First fire we had on that mini pumper was behind, Anchor Drive. They had no road back there, it's all sand.
Oh,
That truck came in handy.
I bet. Okay.
Well, good. I'm excited. All right, motion.
I'll make a motion to award the RFP to Metro Fire Apparatus Specialists Incorporated.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
Yes.
Councilmember Pritchard.
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, item K, resolution authorizing the city to participate in the local government investment cooperative Logic Trust, approving terms and conditions and authorizing the city manager to sign all documents associated with said participation.
So there are governmental investment pools that are available to water districts, school districts, counties, cities. Right now, we are a member of Tex Pool and Texas Class. This is just a third one that's out there called Logic. I would like to set it up, diversify our portfolio some, especially since we just received the money yesterday, 14.1 million for the rec center tax anticipation note that we just issued. We got that cash yesterday, and I would like to put it in its own separate account. And actually, Mark McCliney also asked for us to put it as our own separate account because it's going to make arbitrage rebate calculations much easier, which we're going to have to start doing because we earn interest funds now where we used to not. So this is just to join that investment pool.
Do it fast because rates are going to start going down again.
Oh,
Yeah, they will.
Okay. All right,
I think.
motion.
I'll make a motion real fast to authorize going in the Logic.
I'll second. Real fast.
All right, any further discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Adam.
Councilmember Crawford.
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Pritchard.
Yes.
Councilmember Whitten.
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes. Item L, resolution declaring a review of the city's investment strategies and policy was conducted at a public meeting in the compliance with Public Funds Investment Act, Government Code Chapter 2256, and authorizing adoption of the 2024 investment policy as presented.
My investment policy is actually not in my binder, but it's required to review this and pass it. The only thing I added is the specific words of putting the Cedars program in as an investment option. I think I mentioned to y'all last month in passing that I was going to add the option for pools with commercial paper, but that was actually already in there, so I didn't have to do that. When Logic reviewed our investment policy to make sure that we didn't need anything, we did not. So the only thing I added was the word Cedars.
Because that wasn't in there specifically.
The word Cedars
Okay,
was
good.
not in
No,
there,
that's
and I
good. Yeah.
wanted it in there.
I think that's good.
I think that it was still would have been allowable the way the policy was written, but I wanted
Specifically
it
that
to be
program name. That's
specific,
good.
so I
Yeah,
put it in there.
I think that's good. All right, any discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
For a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion after that? Hearing none, Fran, please call the roll.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Pritchard.
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford.
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, down to the city manager report. Mr. Parsons.
Yep, okay, quick update on the beach access road. our city engineers, I know that today Mike Morris and Jim kind of hashed out two different conveyance, or I don't know if conveyance is the correct word, but two ways to do the beach access road easement is what it technically is. One option is through a plat, the other one is through a somewhat like a right-of-way deed. So they're hashing those two ideas out. And I know Jim was going to reach out to Daniel. Daniel's here today, but we should have the methodology of how we're going to convey that and get something to you guys pretty quick. So if we do it the one way, it doesn't go P and Z, it just comes right to council if it's not the plat method. So that'll be quicker.
Okay, y'all have any other questions regarding that? Okay, what else, Mr. Parsons?
Fire station. So the fire station bid today at 2:00. We had 5 bids, we were very happy with the 5 bids. We were a little surprised at the number. They came in below what our architect's estimate was at by several million. So we were really pleased with the number. We were kind of staring around thinking it was going to be a pretty, like I was thinking 15 million, but it ended up coming, all 5 bids were right on top of each other. They ranged from 9.4.
Well, with the bid alternates from 10.
Yeah.
3 to.
No, I'm talking just base. The base bids came in between like 9.4 and 10.4. And then with the alternates, it goes up about $1 million on that, but they came in really great. And Darla can jump in with the funding ideas. Cause we're looking at about 10.5.
It was definitely under 11. I think it was 10.6.
Yeah.
10.3, 10.35. So the 9.1 million tax anticipation notes that we issued in 2022 were for either public safety, fire EMS, or public works. We had the language open so it could be put to any 3 projects. With the way the bids came in for the public safety, we have not had to tap into any of that tax anticipation note for that project, because with the FEMA funds, insurance, we put aside about 500,000 through the last couple of years for that. And the forgiveness of the community disaster loan, which was about 4.3 million. Right now we're whole. Now, any change orders that may come in the next year, which we can't foresee that, we may have to dip into some reserves to cover that. But right now we're going to be able to pretty much cover that with the tax anticipation note and whatever FEMA funds we may still get. Hopefully we hear something by Monday. That is kind of the cutoff of when they usually will come through with these things. Mike Gaffney, our attorney with FEMA, says usually it's 30 days. We're nowhere past the 30 days because we finished that November 17th, 16th. But maybe with the holidays, and one of the judges has not been on one of their arbitration panels. Maybe he's the one holding it up. I don't know. You can't control what judges do, but hopefully we hear something Monday.
But so one option, and we discussed it, I think, in December, was, do you guys want to call a special meeting to award this bid? So you could just say, let's just do it February, or at the February 15th meeting, at the regular council meeting, or we could have a quick meeting in a couple weeks and do this. I think it'd be great to get this thing going. Yeah, so
We can do it in 7 days at 3:00.
yeah, it's your guys's call. Would you guys like to move it up? And
I would.
Sure,
I'd
I'd
like
like
to
to,
see it.
yeah.
all right,
I think
Fran, do you want to poll people?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, send out a poll and try to get some dates. Does that work?
Does that give people enough to bid it?
It's already bid.
They already bid. That's what he
Just
already
award the bid. All you're doing
That's
is,
the bid.
it would be one,
Awarding it.
Awarding
one,
an
yeah, just to award
The
the bid.
architects having to look at it just to make sure nothing's missing.
Yeah.
If they were, but the builders, especially the 2 that came in lower, have worked
So
with
it's
us
ready to be
before.
awarded.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mhm.
Yay.
Yeah, save us a little bit of time. That'd be
okay,
Great.
we'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll have Fran poll you guys on some dates.
Okay.
Exciting.
All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. Staff reports. Darla, you're up.
So you have the written report in the packet minus the hotel motel tax collections because those were not in. We're not journal entries before we did the report, but they are at your dais now. We're down just a tad bit for the first 3 months of the year. December was, which was actually for November stays, was down. Our sales tax for the first 3 months of the year is down almost 3% compared to prior year. Our harbor, though, is up 19% for the first 3 months for the quarterly rentals and 26% for the daily rentals. Golf cart sales are blowing and going. We've already sold 387 just for the first few weeks last in December. So, but January, we've been busy. Today's 18th, and I think we're on plate 1100 in real numbers, and we're almost at 500 in vanities. So I sold about 1600 so far. Girls are busy.
On the
So-
facility fund, there was looks like a credit of about just over 44.9K. That was on
See.
page 501. I would just- maybe
Fund 115.
the facility.
Oh, interest. I don't have the detail of every general ledger account here, so I'll have to look that up.
Thank you.
And it probably won't be till next Thursday because I'm leaving for vacation in the morning and won't be back till Thursday.
Have fun.
Good girl. Any other questions?
Okay, any other questions for Darla? All right, we'll move on to our citywide capital improvement projects. Lawrence. Thank you, Darla. Have a great vacation.
Thank you, council. I'll try to touch on just a few things. If there are any questions, just ask me and we'll go through those items. As I mentioned earlier, robbing them that the shoreline bulkhead at Charlie's Pasture, it's really moving along that wall and walkway. They're really progressing much quicker now, making a lot of headway in there. You can tell that they're starting to work weekends. For the hazard mitigation drainage funding, Gerke has started out there. They've completed Dolphin Lane. The drainage is in, it's kind of connected, but they'll have to come back and do restoration, including asphalt and everything else, with people's yards and driveways. They're also working on Summer Place currently, and that'll be tying into 12th Street. Once they have materials in, they're going to jump over to Avenue E, and they're going to start working from 7th all the way to Trojan, and it will get into Allister, but they have a traffic control plan that they submitted to us, and that'll include flaggers for shutting that down to letting traffic come through only one lane whenever they get to that point. Harbor Dock 11, the last thing to be done out there is they need to finish the electrical pedestals. They had an electrician on staff who passed away over New Year's, but they're looking to get a replacement. The issue that they're having is you have to have workman's comp insurance to work over water specifically, but they feel confident that they will get that person here soon. The Harbor Master Building Pavilion, that's really moving along as well. Party board and stucco is starting to go up. A lot of paint is going up. It's making a lot of headway. The barbecue pavilion roof is being installed. It's on schedule to be done at the end of February, March timeframe.
March.
Yeah, well, March, right? You never know. It might surprise you for substantial completion. Yeah, it's gonna be March. Nature Preserve Aquatic Upland Restoration, got a little bit of update from the park staff on that. They're working with the GLO per being selected as a priority project for KEPRA. At this point, we have design and engineering and permitting that is being conducted. The GLO is picking up the larger portion, and we have a smaller portion on the expense on that. Natural Preserve Restore Grant, another update on that. Staff is working on the environmental requirements. Hope to have the project bid ready for in a few months to go out for bid. And that'll, but so far they have installed a few things to include bikes, racks, scopes, and benches. I guess it's bike racks, not bikes and racks. Sorry. I wrote kind of small, I couldn't read it. Public safety building, structural skills up. They're still working on that. Next will be CMU and masonry. They also installed a Sally Port.
or at least the floor of it, the concrete. Roberts Point Park bathroom remodel, the restroom nearest the pavilion, they have installed all the tile on the floor and walls. They've painted, the appliances are in there, they just have to be installed. So there's pretty good gain on that. Street drainage bond project, that is to begin very soon. I think you may see something this week or possibly even next week for the actual beginning of that. They should be starting on Access Road 1A. That is it. I did want to mention, per the freeze, I've been working really close with the gas team ever since what that kicked off kind of when Martin Luther King Day through the past couple of days. They've been working like 24, 48 hours, just making sure everything was running. You can get issues with how it actually functions because of the freezing conditions. But we had little fires and they were all put out, and I'm just wanted to mention that the team worked real hard and I'm very proud of them. They kept everything running.
I don't think really we had any citywide power outages or gas problems or anything during the freeze, right? So kudos to
Good.
everybody. That's good.
We had some little fires and y'all didn't even know.
That's
even know.
Even better. Look at that. Good job.
They did a great job. So I just wanted.
Well, they knew.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Are any other questions on any of the projects?
Anything for Lawrence?
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. All right, Development Services, Mr. Adams.
That's jacket, girl.
Thank you. Let's bring it. I try to look nice and I get ridiculed. All right, so real quickly, STR. So we're in the renewal stage this month right now. But with that said, Laura's got 1,248 approved, already registered.
Wow.
And 862 pending, which means that she's just got to get them into the system. So
Jeez.
that's pretty good for this early in the month. So kudos to her to get that done. Building permits kind of ended the year with the trend that I had indicated. They were down 42%. We ended with 192 as opposed to 331 the year before. So it was a pretty significant drop. Obviously, thank you for approving the additional contractors for the building inspectors. We're working through some systems. I mean, it's kind of it's been a challenge without Don being here, but like I said, I think having both these outfits out there will help. And we've really come, especially with AOCA, who's the new guys. We're really making some progress. They're pretty thorough. So, and my staff has worked real hard to kind of get all those things sorted out. So, it wasn't on here, but so our TxDOT projects, there's still one big one that's left. And again, it's just been kind of held up because of the weather, and that's planting our poles on the sidewalks. They're all in. It's just a matter for the weather to kind of clear long enough to where we can, get out there, roll out and just get them all epoxy down on the sidewalks and see. And then one last thing, we grabbed Alex, the famous beach parking ticket rider snagged him from PD. He'd been out of the country. He's back, so he'll be starting full time next week. And we're gonna. Carla's got a pretty good set of instructions for him. But I think things like this new red striping we've got, I think he'll be able to help out quite a bit with a lot of things like that. So hopefully he'll hit the ground running. He already knows the city. So thanks for letting him go, Chief.
All right. Mr. Johnson, it's your turn.
Okay, try to burn through this so we can all get home. 76 calls in December. The biggest thing I'll notice is the year-to-date calls, 1287. That comes up from last year, it was 1,083. That's a significant amount of calls extra there. Average response time, we dropped it down to 432, which I told the guys we better beat the previous years or I'm gonna beat them. So everything's good on that. Transport's 36%, so we're still transporting quite a bit. Our 36 calls last month, but we're kind of spreading it out a little bit because the Bay Area's been inundated again with a little bit of COVID and a little bit of flu. The flu is kind of on the rise. Everybody's been sick within the city and departments and all over the place. So that's kind of been a big one. Mutual aid's been held minimal, like normal. We've kind of been holding that down. And other than that, just a bunch of standbys, Christmas parade, boat parade. I mean, you see everything there, drones, standby, fireworks, bunch of toy drive stuff for Christmas, trying to get all that going.
Who won last year?
Fourth part. Are you talking about Kendra?
Oh, yeah.
They didn't
Yes.
do that.
No, we didn't do that.
We didn't know.
No.
Oh,
People got scared.
I had my hands ready too.
How do you follow the middle?
Yeah. They cheated. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Not
Yeah, I
really
thought we
Kendra.
won.
I just stole cans from the school.
Oh.
It's not a Kendra.
There was a.
But other than that, everything's pretty good. Any questions? Randy?
Doing a great job.
All right,
Thank you
appreciate it.
very
Building's
much.
coming.
No, finally. We got some bids.
Yes.
All right, Chief Burrows. So there he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
on this. I'm gonna start off with a couple shameless plugs. This Saturday, the 20th, Port Aransas Police Foundation is hosting a major fundraiser for Pistols and Purses here at the Civic Center. If you don't have your tickets yet, I think you can still get them at the door. They're at a bargain price of about $100 a piece. So, but this is a major fundraiser for the foundation. They're auctioning off a bunch of real high-end purses and guns. So us working class people that can't afford them normally, we'll at least have a shot by putting our tickets in the deal.
Right.
And then following up on February 16th is our annual awards banquet for the Port Aransas Police Department. Where we'll be awarding our Officer of the Year and recognizing volunteers also. Probably our biggest news is we're almost at 100%. We've got 23 of our 24 slots are full. We have a job offer out for our 24th slot, and I'm interviewing him next week to confirm that, and then we'll be 100%. And our new parking enforcement person, since Rick poached our Alex from us. It was not a voluntary transfer, I promise you. But we have a very competent replacement, and she started day before yesterday. So we're looking good, and we'll probably advertise for another parking person in March once the season picks up. Other than that, it's winter time. Thank you.
Slow.
Hey, Chief, let me ask you a quick question. Do you think it'd help us to codify blocking sidewalks in the ordinances? I know it's state law, right?
When you mean by parking cars?
Cars, yeah, typically cars,
There's no harm in doing that.
right?
So. Yeah, but.
Because if we did that with code enforcement. be
Yeah,
able to
code
do it?
enforcement could probably.
Yeah,
we've got
okay.
the authority to do
Okay.
that. So, but I think there's something in there already that all the state laws already codified. Is there a blanket statement in there?
I mean, I think we adopt by reference.
Okay, we'll look at it.
But if it makes it more transparent, it's out there, then.
Yeah, okay, we'll look at it.
Any questions?
Questions,
Concerns?
Chief?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, item 8, city council comments and items for future consideration. All right, hearing none, we're adjourned.